the strongest lottery system in Pokémon. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1 Golden Lottery. So heavy sleepily, Luo Yuan felt like a big rock was pressing on him, making him breathless. When Luo Yuan woke up, he saw a emerald green Bulbasaur with a pair of big red eyes riding on his belly. It looked naive. Bulbasaur? What's going on? Luo Yuan rubbed his eyes, suspecting that he was still dreaming, and pinched his thigh subconsciously. Hissing, thinking he was still dreaming, he used a lot of force, and he gasped in pain. Then he touched the Bulbasaur lying on his belly. It was fleshy, not the plastic product he imagined, and when Luo Yuan touched it, it used its head to nudge Luo Yuan's hand. This Bulbasaur is alive. Am I traveling through time? Luo Yuan was shocked. He never thought that traveling through time would happen to him one day. Before he could come to his senses, he suddenly heard a voice ringing in his head. Ding, the system is loading. System activated. Welcome to use the strongest lottery system. System. The golden finger is in place. Is it really a time travel? The host's memory is detected to be in a chaotic state, and the memory combing function is turned on. The system seems to know that Luo Yuan knows nothing after crossing over, and directly turns on the memory combing. A large number of memories poured into Luo Yuan's mind, and a large number of pictures flashed before his eyes. Alliance trainee, prosecutor, rocket team, mistake, stay on probation, and other words frequently appeared in Luo Yuan's mind. After a long time, is that so? Luo Yuan finally sorted out his memories after more than 10 minutes. The person he crossed over to is also called Luo Yuan, and he is a trainee prosecutor of the Kanto League in the Pokémon world. On the first day of his employment, his predecessor followed his predecessor to hunt down a rocket team. Because Bulbasaur was frightened by a bra monster and could not move, a loophole appeared in the defense line and a small leader of the rocket team escaped. The predecessor was held accountable for this, resulting in the identity of the Alliance prosecutor, which was originally going to be converted to a regular after the mission completely failed and became a stay on probation. Then, under the influence of anxiety, resentment, uneasiness and other emotions in his heart, his predecessor died directly, and then Luo Yuan's time travel happened. After receiving the entire memory, Luo Yuan raised his eyebrows. It doesn't feel right. Regarding the fact that his predecessor was suspended for mistakes. Although the predecessor did make mistakes, it was also a reasonable mistake within the scope of combat. Abrax itself has the characteristics of intimidation. It would be abnormal for Bulbasaur not to be scared when encountering Abrax. Moreover, if the mission failed, no matter how to investigate, it should not be blamed on a trainee prosecutor. It should be the person in charge of the command. Luo Yuan felt that he was taking the blame for someone else. It's really miserable. However, since he traveled through time and used someone else's body, Luo Yuan felt that he would have a chance to get back at this place in the future. The idea was clear. Luo Yuan began to study his own system. The strongest lottery system. Judging from the name, it should be a lottery system. Reading the information about the system in his mind, Luo Yuan found that the function of the system was very simple and crude. He could get the number of lottery draws by completing the tasks that the system randomly refreshed every day. The lottery is divided into 4 levels: normal, silver, gold and platinum. Depending on the level of the lottery, the rarity of the items drawn also increases exponentially, and the items drawn include, but are not limited to, Pokémon props, Pokémon special moves, and all types of Pokémon including legendary beasts. Moreover, Luo Yuan was surprised to find that he actually had one chance. Congratulations to the host for activating the system and winning a gold lottery. Just as Luo Yuan was about to try his luck, he suddenly felt something licking his face. He lowered his head and saw Bulbasaur's pitiful look. Obviously, Bulbasaur knew that it was because of him that his master could not become a prosecutor. Seeing that Luo Yuan woke up and ignored it, he thought that Luo Yuan was angry with it. Okay, I'm not angry with you. Luo Yuan rubbed Bulbasaur's head with a smile, but Luo Yuan, who inherited the memory, did not blame Bulbasaur. Seed. Bulbasaur saw that his master did not seem to be really angry, and he closed his eyes comfortably. Picking up Bulbasaur with one hand and placing it on his lap, Luo Yuan silently said in his heart, "System, draw." He was a little nervous because it was time to decide whether he would eat meat or grass in the future. Ding, draw. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the quasi-god level Pokémon Metamorphosis. The Pokémon Ball has been sent to the system backpack. The intimacy of Metamorphosis is set to the maximum value by default. The host can check it at any time. Metamorphosis. Luo Yuan was shocked. Although he knew that he could get good things in the gold draw, his luck seemed to be a little too good. He took out the Pokeball containing Metamorphosis from the system backpack. A higher level ball appeared in Luo Yuan's hand out of thin air. Unable to suppress his excitement, Luo Yuan pressed the button in the center of the high level ball. Come out, Metamorphosis. As Luo Yuan called, a white light flashed, and a Metamorphosis with a disc-shaped body and 4 iron claws appeared in the house. The turquoise body, the X-shaped metal fork on the face, and the red eyes made Metamorphosis look very fierce. At first glance, it feels very strong. Bulbasaur was furious when he saw the Pokémon that suddenly appeared. It immediately stood in front of Luo Yuan and took an attacking posture. Okay, Bulbasaur, this is a companion. Don't worry, we should get along well in the future. Luo Yuan patted Bulbasaur, whose body was still shaking, and said, "Seed." Bulbasaur was very confused. It didn't remember when its master had other Pokémon. Luo Yuan smiled, picked up Bulbasaur, walked to Metagross, and touched Metagross's head. Metagross narrowed its eyes and lowered its head obediently. Perhaps because of the full intimacy, Luo Yuan did not feel that Metagross was fierce, but felt that it was very close to him. Seeing Luo Yuan's actions, Bulbasaur became bolder and stretched out the vine whip to poke Metagross carefully. Stare. Metagross suddenly opened its eyes. Scared. Bulbasaur was so scared that he hid behind Luo Yuan. He ignored the fight between Bulbasaur and Metagross. But did I forget something? Luo Yuan touched his chin and fell into deep thought. He always felt that he had overlooked something. But just as he was thinking, the giant monster seemed to feel that the room was very crowded and uncomfortable, and propped himself up and floated into the air. Looking at the crushed furniture under the giant monster and the messy room, Luo Yuan collapsed and covered his face. MMP. He finally knew what was wrong. Chapter 2. Professor Oak. He should have gone out to find an open space. Now that most of the furniture was crushed, how long would it take him to clean it up? Fearing that Metagross would crush other things, Luo Yuan quickly put Metagross back into the Pokeball. After finally cleaning up the house and the crushed furniture, the phone suddenly rang. Who would call him at this time? After the call was connected, a full-bodied voice came from the phone. Luo Yuan, I have already prepared the illustrated book you asked for before. Just come and get it when you are free. The voice sounded familiar, and Luo Yuan felt that he had heard it somewhere before. But, illustrated book. Hearing the other party talking about the illustrated book, Luo Yuan searched his memory and quickly knew who the person on the other end was. Professor Oak, I know. It turned out that his predecessor felt that his future as a Pokémon prosecutor was bleak, so he found another way out for himself in advance. Because he had participated in the Pokémon summer camp organized by Professor Oak, he got the qualification from Professor Oak to set off as a rookie trainer this year. In other words, even if he did not become a prosecutor, he could still travel as a Pokémon trainer. In that case, Luo Yuan stroked the Pokeball containing Metagross. He thought it would be nice to quit his job as a prosecutor and become a full-time Pokémon trainer. His predecessor had encountered so many messy things, and Luo Yuan was not in the mood to continue working hard for the Alliance. It's decided. Thinking of this, Luo Yuan became happy and began to prepare lunch for Bulbasaur and Metagross. Quartz Plateau Pokémon Prosecutor Kanto Headquarters. Ishihara Kuriji looked at the young man in front of him, frowning and with a somewhat tangled expression. Have you really decided? Give up the position of trainee prosecutor? He knew that the young man in front of him was a relatively outstanding student among the trainee prosecutors of this session. However, in a recent mission, he was punished for running away a small leader of Team Rocket, so the higher-ups left him to be promoted after a period of observation. Unexpectedly, the other party actually planned to resign directly. I've decided, Luo Yuan nodded. I'm afraid I can't continue to serve as the Pokémon prosecutor. Is it because of the previous punishment? Ishihara asked. Ishihara knew a little about the inside story. It seemed that the commander in charge of the operation at that time was a member of a very powerful family in the Alliance. Because he was afraid that the stigma of mission failure would affect his promotion, he used his connections to push the fault onto Luo Yuan, and in turn, Luo Yuan could be said to have suffered an undeserved disaster. Hearing Ishihara's question, Luo Yuan smiled and said nothing. The meaning was very obvious. What was going on here? Ishihara looked at the expression of the young man in front of him and knew that the young man in front of him must have known something. He knew that Luo Yuan had made up his mind, so he sighed and wrote the word agree on the resignation application bookmark. If you have any problems in the future, you can come to me. I will try my best to help you within my ability. Ishihara handed the document to Luo Yuan and said, the punishment had been issued, and Ishihara was unable to change the status quo, so he planned to compensate Luo Yuan in another way. Who knows what will happen in the future? Luo Yuan smiled and said. Ishihara said no more. Luo Yuan went through the resignation procedures in a dull atmosphere. Leaving the headquarters building, Luo Yuan planned to go to Professor Oak's research institute. Tomorrow is the time for the new trainers to leave. In order not to keep Professor Oak waiting for a long time, Luo Yuan thought it would be better for him to go and get the Pokémon now. Are you talking about Bulbasaur? Luo Yuan asked the Bulbasaur beside him. Seed. Bulbasaur looked confused and tilted his head, looking silly and cute. Haha. Seeing it like this, Luo Yuan couldn't help laughing out loud. Just as Luo Yuan was about to move forward, a group of people suddenly stopped in front of Luo Yuan. Hey, kid, stop. A guy dressed as a biker saw Luo Yuan from a distance, and then rushed over and shouted, "Ha!" Luo Yuan glanced at the group of people in front of him. He didn't recognize the people dressed as bikers. Boy, you must be Luo Yuan. Before Luo Yuan could speak, the biker with a plain head in front shouted before him, I'm indeed Luo Yuan, but who are you? Luo Yuan felt that these guys seemed to have bad intentions. You don't need to know who we are. Someone asked me to tell you something. Shut up and don't say anything you shouldn't say, the airplane-haired biker threatened. Oh. Shut up. I want to know who told me to shut up. Luo Yuan raised his eyebrows, and he guessed the origin of this group of guys. He felt a little funny. His predecessor had no enemies, so he could rule out the option of seeking revenge. The other party mentioned that he should shut up and not talk nonsense, which was obviously related to the incident that he took the blame for before. Because you are afraid that I will go out and tell the truth, which will damage my reputation? Luo Yuan roughly guessed the other party's mentality. In fact, if Luo Yuan was in the other party's position, he might think so, but the other party's method of using bikers to intimidate him. Luo Yuan said that he really couldn't agree with it. Boy, you dare to laugh at me, are you looking for death? As if he was angered by Luo Yuan's laughter, the small leader said angrily. According to statistics from an unknown organization, bikers are often impulsive and irritable, and often a small conflict can escalate into a bloody conflict. Luo Yuan felt that the conflict between him and the other party was not small, so just in case, he put his hand on the high-level ball at his waist. Seeing this, the airplane-headed biker tribe thought Luo Yuan wanted to fight with them, and waved his hand, and all the subordinates behind him released their Pokémon. Radar, Arbor, Gas Bomb, more than 10 Pokémon occupied most of the street at once. The passers-by around saw this and hid. Were you laughing at us just now? The airplane-headed biker tribe asked. They were ready to fight if they disagreed. Chapter 3 The First Mission. Hearing the words of the airplane-headed biker, Luo Yuan laughed. Laughing at you? No, no, no. Tell me yourself, in public, releasing Pokémon to threaten a former Alliance Pokémon prosecutor. Do you think you are sane? Luo Yuan raised the corner of his mouth slightly, pointing to the people around who were calling the police. The police will probably be here soon. If I were you, I would run now. Maybe I wouldn't be caught by the police. The airplane-headed biker was stunned when he heard the words, looked around, and his face suddenly changed. There were indeed people around calling the police. The biker's bad tempers don't mean they are stupid. He didn't think so much when he blocked Luo Yuan before, but after Luo Yuan said that, he felt that the other party seemed to. Was it right? Once they were caught by Junsha for openly threatening a Pokémon prosecutor, even though they had resigned, then they would be locked up for at least a few months, and it would definitely not be easy in prison. At that time, the people behind them might not help them out. Let's retreat. After thinking it over again and again, the airplane-headed biker looked at Luo Yuan hatefully and decided to leave first. Luo Yuan did not stop them. If he argued with a bunch of idiots, wouldn't it lower his status? He wanted to have a good chat with the guy who threw the blame on him. He actually dared to find a biker to threaten him. Did he really think he had no temper? However, at this moment, a ding sounded in Luo Yuan's mind. Normal task, teach the bikers a lesson. The actions of these bikers violated the law and seriously affected your mood. They should be taught a lesson. So, defeat them head on. Task completion reward, a normal lottery draw. Luo Yuan's face changed instantly, from indifferent to serious. With a stern face, Luo Yuan rushed to the bikers who were about to leave and said, "You are leaving," after making a harsh statement. "Did you ask me? Boy, are you going to stop us?" The airplane-headed biker who thought he had led Luo Yuan saw that Luo Yuan dared to stop him and stared at him. "Just relying on your Bulbasaur, that would be scared by the sight of the abo monster?" The bikers behind him laughed together. "Haha, you can try." Hearing this laughter, Luo Yuan was quite unhappy, especially the Bulbasaur who mocked him. Although they were stopped because of the system task, it seems that if these rubbish are not taught a lesson, they will be arrogant. The system is right. This kind of people should be taught a lesson. Seed. Bulbasaur was also very angry when he heard the ridicule. "Boy, take your Bulbasaur and get out of here quickly, otherwise I will kill you." Feeling that he had an absolute advantage in strength, Airplane Head didn't want to talk nonsense with Luo Yuan anymore. He thought Luo Yuan was stalling for time with him, wanting to wait for Junsha to come and capture them. At the signal of these bikers, a Brown Vaston approached Luo Yuan, intending to threaten Luo Yuan. If it was the previous Luo Yuan, he would have been scared and trembling to give way at this time, but things are different now. He calmly took out the Pokeball from his waist, looked at the laughing bikers, and threw it lightly. All the bikers present only heard one sentence, "Control them, Metagross." Then, all the bikers found that a huge turquoise metal Pokémon suddenly appeared in front of them. The huge body almost occupied 1/3 of the street. The scholar eyes, the metal body, and the sharp claws all made this Pokémon look extremely fierce. This was not the most terrifying thing. What frightened them the most was that the bikers found that they could not move, except for opening their mouths and blinking. They completely lost control of their bodies. "What did you do?" the biker-headed biker asked in horror. This feeling of losing control of the body is quite torturous. "Nothing, I just don't want you to escape." "What are you going to do to us?" "Don't worry, I won't cause too much harm to you. After all, I'm not a demon." Luo Yuan smiled slightly. Before the biker-headed biker could breathe a sigh of relief, Luo Yuan snapped his fingers and said, "Metagross, let them blow the wind." Whoosh. Under the astonished gaze of the onlookers, a group of bikers soared into the sky like flying monkeys, and then fell rapidly, back and forth more than 10 times. When Luo Yuan ordered the giant gold monster to stop, the bikers' legs were already weak, their bodies were trembling, and their faces were pale. "Look, I didn't hit you." Luo Yuan spread his hands and said, "I knocked him in." The plane head cursed. He was the most stubborn. Even though he almost peed his pants due to the rapid ascent and descent like bungee jumping, he was still very stubborn. "Knock him out." Before the plane head could finish his words, he was hit by the invisible stick transformed by telekinesis, and his eyes were full of stars and he fainted. The bikers and onlookers next to him were terrified. Who is the biker? Task completed. Task rewards have been issued. Please check the host. At this time, the system prompt sounded in Luo Yuan's mind, and he silently gave up the idea of knocking out all the bikers. A siren sounded in the distance. Luo Yuan turned around and saw Junsha rushing over. He waved and said, "Here." Seeing Junsha from afar, the remaining bikers looked relieved. Finally freed from the clutches of this devil. Miss Junsha, please arrest us. This group of usually fierce bikers burst into tears. We just came here to pass on a message. How did it become like this? Chapter 4 General Lottery. Tokiwa Police Station. Spending the first day of my time travel in the police station is not a good sign. Luo Yuan thought to himself as he sat on the chair. Junsha happened to arrive after he had taught that group of bikers a lesson on the street. After learning the cause of the incident, Junsha immediately arrested the bikers. However, as a party involved, Luo Yuan was inevitably pulled over to take a statement. Just as he was thinking, Junsha came over with a cup of coffee and put it on the table. Thank you for your cooperation, that's enough. Junsha said to Luo Yuan, but next time, please don't use the special moves of Pokémon on humans, as this can easily cause accidental injuries. Junsha still remembered the look of a group of bikers who had been played when she arrived at the scene. What did Luo Yuan do to them that made them even begin to desire to be arrested by the police? You know, that was the first time she saw a criminal who was not afraid of the police, but was happy instead. Even until just now, when she mentioned Luo Yuan's name in front of those bikers still looked terrified, which showed the shadow Luo Yuan had left on them. Don't worry, I know my limits. I'll just punish them a little bit. Luo Yuan said, and this is legitimate defense, isn't it? Junsha nodded. Just as Luo Yuan said, the group of bikers threatened the former Pokémon prosecutor in public, and Luo Yuan's behavior was completely within the scope of legitimate defense. As a former Pokémon prosecutor who knows the law, Luo Yuan has a very accurate sense of proportion. Those bikers will be prosecuted for threatening public officials of the Alliance and condoning Pokémon to disturb public order. At least they will be imprisoned for 3 months. Junsha did not sympathize with these people. After all, strictly speaking, Luo Yuan, as a former Pokémon prosecutor, was her own. The bikers did not threaten Luo Yuan, but the entire judicial system of the Alliance. 3 months was a light punishment. Luo Yuan was very satisfied with the result. Imprisonment for 3 months was a very appropriate punishment for these bikers. They would not be out of touch with society because of being imprisoned for too long, nor would they forget about the incident in a blink of an eye, forgetting the pain after the scar healed. At this moment, Luo Yuan felt that he was great. Many of these bikers would surely turn over a new leaf and walk on the right path. Before leaving, Luo Yuan went to the interrogation room to chat with the biker. The biker was no longer as arrogant as before. After Luo Yuan hit him with a telekinetic club, he seemed to be much more sober. At least he knew that Luo Yuan was someone who should not be provoked. In this way, Luo Yuan got everything done. It was already evening when he came out of the police station. It took much longer than expected. I'm afraid I can't go to the Oak Research Institute until tomorrow. He came to the Pokémon Center in Tokiwa City to stay overnight. Lying on the bed in the Pokémon Center, Luo Yuan communicated with the system in his brain. System, where is the reward I got before? That was the result of his hard work for a day. Number of draws left for the host. 1 ordinary draw. Do you want to draw? Draw. With the previous experience of the Metagross, Luo Yuan wanted to see what he could get from the ordinary draw. Lottery in progress. Congratulations to the host for obtaining Pokémon breeding knowledge. Elementary. The prize has been stored in the backpack. Breeding knowledge. What is this? Luo Yuan couldn't tell what it was just by the name, so he asked the system. Pokémon breeding knowledge. Elementary. Including various Pokémon breeding methods. System evaluation. Don't expect to become a Pokémon breeding master by relying on it. It can only help you become a qualified Pokémon shoveler. This system is very naughty. Luo Yuan saw the system's comments and his mouth twitched. But it should be used. Because no matter whether it is the predecessor or himself, they only know the knowledge related to Pokémon battles and know very little about Pokémon breeding. With this, at least you won't raise your Pokémon to death in the future. Learn. He muttered in his heart, and then Luo Yuan felt a lot of information suddenly emerged in his mind. The favorite food combination of Bulbasaur, the precautions when massaging Charmander, how to help Squirtle clean up the body, and so on. A large amount of information poured into his mind, and Luo Yuan was stunned for a full 10 minutes before he came back to his senses. Are there so many ways to raise Pokémon? Before Luo Yuan crossed over, he always thought that, as long as he fed Pokémon on time, it would be fine. In order to verify the accuracy of this information, he took out Pokémon food and fruits and vegetables from his backpack, and prepared food for Bulbasaur according to the recipe in his memory. Seeds. Seeing that Bulbasaur, who was usually very picky about food, wolfed down the food that he could only eat in 2 meals before, Luo Yuan realized how useful this information was. After sorting it out, he found that it contained a whole set of methods for raising Pokémon, and it was definitely not as bad as the system said. Luo Yuan felt that he could even take the Pokémon breeder qualification certificate now. It seems that the system has some misunderstandings about the beginner level. Luo Yuan said to himself. Now many breeders in the Alliance don't even know what Pokémon like to eat. Looking down at the bulging belly of Bulbasaur, Luo Yuan touched its head and put it back into the Pokéball. Go to bed early, get up early tomorrow, to go to the Oak Research Institute, to get the illustrated book. The moon was high in the sky, and Luo Yuan also fell asleep. Chapter 5, Oak Research Institute. The next day, Oak Research Institute in Pallet Town. When Luo Yuan arrived here, a girl with a shoulder bag was leading a Bulbasaur away. Professor Oak. Oh, it's Luo Yuan. Professor Oak saw Luo Yuan. Luo Yuan had participated in the Pokémon summer camp organized by him. Because of his intelligence and diligence, he left a deep impression on him. So when Luo Yuan said that he wanted to travel as a rookie trainer, he immediately agreed. You are here to pick up Pokémon. There may be a small problem here. Professor Oak said with difficulty. What's the problem? Seeing Professor Oak's expression, thinking about the original plot in which Zyossi got up late, all the Pokémon were taken away, and only Pikachu was left. Luo Yuan subconsciously felt that something was wrong. Ah, that's it. Because there are more rookie trainers leaving this year, the number of initial Pokémon prepared is not enough. Unfortunately, there was a problem with the Pokémon transmission device on the Alliance side. The Pokémon that should have been transmitted today did not arrive, and the Pokémon that was prepared before were also taken away. Professor Oak apologized. This time it was his work error. He could encounter such a thing. Should he be said to be unlucky or unlucky? The initial Pokémon is gone. It doesn't matter if there is no Pokémon. I just happen to have a Bulbasaur. Since there is no initial Pokémon, Luo Yuan did not force it. Anyway, he had the system, and he didn't need such an initial Pokémon. Wait, that's not what I meant. Professor Oak saw that Luo Yuan misunderstood his meaning, and waved his hand quickly. I do have 2 Pokémon here, but their personalities are difficult to get along with. If you are willing to accept them, you can choose them as your initial Pokémon. Professor Oak took out 2 Pokéballs, and placed them on the table. If you don't want to, you can also wait for a while. After the transmission device is repaired, I will transmit your initial Pokémon to you. What are these 2 Pokémon? Luo Yuan suddenly became curious. One of them must be Zyos's Pikachu, which can fight the Divine Beast when it is strong, and can't even beat the initial Pokémon when it is weak. Then what is the other one? Come out. Professor Oak released 2 Pokémon. Bang. 2 Pokémon, one yellow and one brown, appeared in the Research Institute. The yellow one is naturally Pikachu, and at this moment, Pikachu is turning his head away, looking like he is refusing to cooperate. The other one has a pair of long ears, brown fur covering its entire body, fluffy hair on its neck and tail, a pair of big eyes and 4 short legs, which makes it look very cute. Pikachu and Eevee. Luo Yuan said. That's right. Professor Oak introduced. This Pikachu hates humans very much, and it is easy to be electrocuted if you get close to them. As for this Eevee looks quite normal. Luo Yuan said he didn't want to steal Zyos's Pikachu. Eevee has been standing there combing its hair since it came out, just like a normal Pokémon. As he said that, he squatted down and wanted to touch Eevee, but Eevee dodged and rolled his eyes at him. You can see that these 2 Pokémon, Pikachu, hate humans, and Eevee is too arrogant and doesn't listen to orders. They are both difficult to get along with and are not suitable for novice trainers. If it doesn't work, wait for a while until the transmission device is repaired and then come back. It's impossible to wait, and it's impossible to wait in this lifetime. Luo Yuan looked at the arrogant Eevee in front of him, thought for a while, took out a bunch of ingredients from his backpack, and prepared them according to the recipe of Eevee's favorite food in his mind. Huh. Luo Yuan, what are you doing? Professor Oak looked at Luo Yuan holding the tree fruit, and began to prepare it, with a question mark on his face. Of course, let them accept me. As he said, Luo Yuan put the Pokémon food he made in front of Eevee. Eevee. Smelling the food, Eevee twitched its small nose and showed a look of desire in its eyes. But it looked at Luo Yuan and was very alert. It's okay, Eevee, try it and see. Professor Oak probably guessed that Luo Yuan wanted to use food to build friendship with Eevee, so he assisted him from the side. Hearing what Professor Oak said, Eevee couldn't hold back his desire and took a small bite. Then, he couldn't stop eating. The whole plate of food specially prepared by Luo Yuan was eaten up by Eevee. Then Eevee stood up and walked towards Luo Yuan, squatting firmly beside Luo Yuan, as if he had recognized Luo Yuan as a long-term meal ticket. Great. Professor Oak gave Luo Yuan a thumbs up. I didn't expect Luo Yuan that you have this skill. Pokémon breeding is a very advanced knowledge. Professor Oak specializes in the study of Pokémon and is not very involved in breeding. He was also shocked to see that Luo Yuan used a plate of food to make Eevee change his position. Controlling the stomach of Pokémon is controlling the heart of Pokémon, Luo Yuan said with a smile. Professor Oak looked at Eevee, who was still cold but firmly standing beside Luo Yuan, and smiled and handed the Pokéball to Luo Yuan. Then, I'll leave Eevee to you. Don't worry, Professor Oak, I will take good care of it. Luo Yuan nodded after taking the Pokémon book and Pokéball. But did they overlook something? Pikachu. At this moment, there was a sudden slam at the door, and the pajama-clad boy Zyossi rushed in quickly. While running, he shouted, "Sorry, Professor Oak, I got up late. I came to pick up the Pokémon." Rushing closer, Zyossi breathed a sigh of relief when he saw the only Pokéball left on the table, and Pikachu. Then he was excited. "Professor Oak, is this my Pokémon?" As he said that, he reached out and grabbed Pikachu. "Wait a minute, Zyossi." Professor Oak's face changed. But before he could finish, Zyossi hugged Pikachu. Pika. The Oak laboratory was full of lightning. Chapter 6 Ibrahimovic. In Oak's laboratory, Satoshi and Professor Oak stared at each other after being electrocuted by Pikachu. Luo Yuan was very foresighted. When Satoshi came in, he moved away from the location of Pikachu, so he was spared. "Professor Oak, why did it electrocute me?" Satoshi looked at the Pikachu on the ground with an uncooperative expression, and his expression was very aggrieved. Ahem. Professor Oak frowned and looked at Satoshi seriously. "Ash, do you know that you are late? You are late for this important day today. All the Pokémon have been taken away." While speaking, Professor Oak winked at Luo Yuan frantically. The corner of Luo Yuan's mouth twitched. Professor Oak started to fool Satoshi. He wanted him to cooperate. When Zyossi heard what Professor Oak said, he immediately became anxious. "Professor Oak, are there really no more Pokémon?" Professor Oak shook his head and sighed. "All Pokémon have been taken away by this year's new trainers. Luo Yuan's Eevee is the last one." Zyossi then noticed that there was another person in the institute. "Are you Luo Yuan?" As students who participated in the Pokémon summer camp in the same period, Luo Yuan knew Zyossi and Zyomeo. Luo Yuan also had a memory of several people being chased by a group of Pidgeots. "Zyossi, long time no see." Luo Yuan greeted. "Didn't you pass the league's trainee prosecutor exam before? Why are you here?" Zyossi was a little curious. "I resigned." Luo Yuan shrugged. Zyossi didn't ask more questions when he heard this, but when he saw Eevee next to Luo Yuan, Zyossi's eyes lit up. "Eevee." He reached out to touch Eevee, but Eevee dodged first. "This child is not used to contact with people," Professor Oak said. "That's good too," Zyossi said enviously. Thinking of himself, he felt desperate again. Is his journey as a Pokémon master going to end before it even begins? But Professor Oak hesitated. His expression aroused Zyos's curiosity. "But what?" Hope rose in Zyos's heart. "I still have a Pokémon here, but it has some shortcomings. I wonder if you are willing to accept it." Professor Oak, you are not talking about it. Zyozzy carefully pointed to the arrogant Pikachu next to him. That's right, there is only this Pikachu left in the institute now. Are you willing to accept it? Are there really no other Pokémon? Zyozzy looked a little embarrassed. The electric shock from Pikachu just now was quite painful. If possible, he would rather want one of the three, Squirtle, Bulbasaur, and Charmander. Any one of them would do. No more. Would I lie to you? If you don't believe me, you can ask Luo Yuan. Professor Oak said. Seeing Zyozzy looking at him, Luo Yuan had to say, Professor Oak really has no Pokémon here now. There is nothing wrong with what he said. There is really no Pokémon in the Oak Institute now, but there will be in a few days. Hearing this, Zyozzy felt that Pikachu was his last choice. Then, I'll take this Pikachu. Zyozzy reluctantly accepted Pikachu. However, Zyozzy was very receptive and had a strong acceptance ability. He would probably accept this fact soon. Luo Yuan and Professor Oak watched Zyozzy leave. After Zyozzy left, Luo Yuan couldn't help but turn around and ask Professor Oak, Professor Oak, is it really okay to cheat Zyozzy like this? Although he knew that Zyozzy and Pikachu would get along well in the future, Luo Yuan couldn't help but ask. That Pikachu has a good talent. Zyozzy's love for Pokémon comes from the heart. I believe he can influence that Pokémon. Professor Oak said. Of course, if he can't get along with Pikachu, I will give him another Pokémon after the transmission device is repaired in a while. Luo Yuan understood that Professor Oak was very thoughtful. Poor Zyozzy was still kept in the dark and really thought there was only one Pikachu. Well, Professor Oak, I'm leaving too. The Pokémon and the original Pokémon that should be obtained have been obtained, and it's time to leave. Haha, then I wish you a safe journey. If you meet my grandsons Zyomeo and Zyozzy during your travels, please help me take care of them. Professor Oak knew that Luo Yuan was a trainee prosecutor of the league before, and he was relatively more experienced. Of course, he and Zyozzy and Zyomeo can be regarded as friends, so he has no choice but to help. Saying goodbye to Professor Oak, Luo Yuan took Eevee and left Pallet Town to a vacant land outside Pallet Town. Luo Yuan took out his other two Pokeballs. Come out, Bulbasaur, Metagross. Meet new partners. A white light flashed. Bulbasaur and Metagross appeared in front of Eevee. Bulbasaur was fine, but Metagross's huge body scared Eevee, and it exploded on the spot and quickly hid behind Luo Yuan, and its whole body became fluffy. Luo Yuan found it a little funny to see it like this. Eevee, don't be nervous, they are all your companions. He looked up at Metagross and Bulbasaur and said, this is your new companion Eevee, come and say hello. Metagross and Bulbasaur looked at Eevee. But Metagross made a buzzing sound from its body to show its friendliness. Seed. Bulbasaur stretched out its vine whip. Eevee seeing this, Eevee touched Bulbasaur's vine whip with its front paws as a greeting. Eevee was still so cold, but this was due to its personality. Luo Yuan didn't care. Okay, you have to get along harmoniously in the future, okay? Luo Yuan attracted the attention of the three Pokémon and said that he didn't have high requirements for his Pokémon as long as they didn't fight. Eevee, Seed, Buzz, all three Pokémon said that it was okay. Then let's go to Viridian City. Although the Viridian City gym is currently closed, Viridian City is still a must go on the way to Night City. It's just right to stay in Viridian City tonight. Put away Metagross. Luo Yuan takes Bulbasaur and Eevee to Viridian City. Chapter 7 Zyarksha. Eevee, shake your tail. Let your opponent relax his guard. A flash of lightning. Impact. A poor little Rattata fell to the ground and turned into Eevee's experience points. Of course, in this real world, it may not be appropriate to use experience points that are only available in games. It should be called combat experience. Eevee defeated the little Rattata and gained some combat experience. Eevee. Returning to Luo Yuan's side, Eevee combed his hair, his tail shaking. Along the way, this is the sixth Pokémon that fell to Eevee's hands. None of the Pokémon such as Rattata, Caterpillar, and Unicorn were Eevee's opponents, and all became Eevee's defeated opponents. Eevee's strength is not weak. The strength and combat talent shown by Eevee were beyond Luo Yuan's expectations. Now thinking of Eevee's aloofness at that time, I guess it looked down on those novice trainers. Thinking of this, Luo Yuan became more and more satisfied with Eevee. Open the system panel. Ordinary task. Behind every trainer, there are countless wild Pokémon who were knocked to the ground. Mission content. Defeat 50 wild Pokémon before arriving at Viridian City. 6/50. Mission reward. 1 ordinary lottery. This was the mission refreshed by the system before. It was because of this mission that Luo Yuan stretched out his claws to these weak Pokémon. 50. It's very troublesome. It took him more than an hour to find these 5 Pokémon. The other Pokémon either ran away directly when they saw him or ignored his provocation and did not fight him. Does it mean that I have to camp here tonight? Luo Yuan thought. It is impossible to give up the mission, and I will never give up in this life. However, according to his current progress, to find and kill 50 Pokémon, he must spend a whole day on it. Bulbasaur, you also help to pay attention to whether there are other wild Pokémon in the woods. Luo Yuan released Bulbasaur from the Pokéball and let it join the battle. With the addition of Bulbasaur, the efficiency of defeating wild Pokémon has been greatly improved. After all, Bulbasaur is Luo Yuan's initial Pokémon, and its strength is more than 1 level stronger than Eevee. Just as Bulbasaur used the Vine Whip to roll up a fleeing Rattata again, and was about to kill it with the Leaf Blade, there was a sudden noise in the bushes next to him. Who? Luo Yuan asked. Eevee next to him also pricked up his ears vigilantly. Pokémon often attack humans in the wild, so it is not too much to be careful. Under the vigilant gaze of Luo Yuan and Eevee, the bushes were pushed aside. A girl with orange-red hair, a yellow top, denim shorts and a fishing rod came out and asked Luo Yuan, "Hello, have you seen a boy riding a bicycle with Pikachu?" Xiaoxia? Luo Yuan was a little surprised. He recognized at a glance that the person in front of him was Xiaoxia, the heroine of the original TV anime. From what she said, it seems that she is looking for Xiaoxi who stole her bicycle. According to the plot, Xiaoxi seems to be chased by a group of Spearows. I didn't see him, but I think I know the boy with Pikachu you mentioned. Luo Yuan said. He did not see Xiaoxi. You know him? Great. Xiaoxia breathed a sigh of relief. He rode my bike away. I have to get it back. Can you contact him? I'm afraid your bike won't come back. I thought to myself, but I couldn't say it out loud. Luo Yuan shook his head. Xiaoxi doesn't have a phone number. If you want to contact him, you may have to find Professor Oak. He is a new trainer from Professor Oak. Is that so? Xiaoxia was a little entangled. Seeing the hesitant Xiaoxia, Luo Yuan suddenly had an idea. Why not? I'll take you to find him. Luo Yuan thought of the Spearows that were chasing Xiaoxi. If he killed those Spearows, wouldn't he be able to complete the mission? And Professor Oak asked him to take care of Xiaoxi. He couldn't just watch Xiaoxi fall into danger and do nothing. Xiaoxia was not happy when she heard this, but was very alert. You are not a bad guy who specializes in abducting beautiful girls. To her, Luo Yuan was just a stranger she had just met. A stranger suddenly made such an invitation, which was very suspicious at first glance. Luo Yuan was speechless. Do I look like a bad guy? Even if his predecessor was also a prosecutor of the Alliance, how could he not be related to a bad guy? Xiaoxia looked Luo Yuan up and down carefully, very suspicious. In order not to be wrongly accused, Luo Yuan took out the illustration to prove his identity. Xiaoxia knew that she had misunderstood and apologized with a red face. Okay. Come with me. If you go too late, I'm afraid your bicycle will have an accident. As he said, Luo Yuan threw the advanced ball containing Metagross in Xiaoxia's surprised eyes. The huge Metagross appeared in the forest, knocked down two large trees on the spot, and scared away countless wild Pokémon. This is the quasi-god level Pokémon of the Hone region, Metagross. Xiaoxia recognized Metagross at a glance. As one of the heirs of the Cerulean Gym, it was normal for her to know Metagross, the famous quasi-god in the Hone region. Aren't you a rookie trainer? She began to doubt again. Then are you going to come up? Luo Yuan jumped onto Metagross and asked. Xiaoxia thought about it, and it seemed that she had no choice. If Luo Yuan was a bad guy, she seemed to be unable to beat him. Thinking of this, Xiaoxia stopped struggling and grabbed Luo Yuan's arm and sat on Metagross. Let's go, Metagross. Find a boy with Pikachu. Buzz. Metagross expressed its understanding, then took Luo Yuan and Zyuxia into the air, searched in the sky, immediately locked onto the target, and flew away quickly. At this moment, Zyuxia was blocking Pikachu with his arms outstretched, yelling at Spearow, trying to scare Spearow away. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 8 Pokémon Center. Zyuxia tried to scare the Spearow away. However, Spearow was a Pokémon that was naturally irritable and fearless. How could it be afraid of Zyuxia? With a cry, the flock of Spearows in the sky rushed towards Zyuxia below, as if they had received an order. Pikachu behind Zyuxia was deeply moved and jumped in front of Zyuxia, ready to fight for his life. At this critical moment, a voice came from the sky. Metallic, use psychic. Zyuxia felt that the voice was very familiar. Before he could think of who it was, he saw that the air in the sky suddenly became distorted, and an invisible force enveloped the flock of Spearows that were about to pounce on Zyuxia and Pikachu. The entire flock of Spearows was suddenly hit by a heavy hammer, and the Spearows in the sky fell to the ground like raindrops, landing all over the ground. Awesome. Zyuxia unconsciously opened his mouth wide and looked at the scene in front of him. Pikachu. Pikachu had the same expression. Then the man and the elf looked at the huge Pokémon floating in the sky at the same time, and on it, Luo Yuan. Zyuxia exclaimed. Why is it Luo Yuan? And when did this guy Luo Yuan become so strong? Defeat wild Pokémon, 52/50, and get a normal lottery. Let the Metagross lower its height. Luo Yuan and Zyuxia flipped over and jumped off the Metagross. How are you? Are you okay? Luo Yuan said. Thanks to you, Luo Yuan. Zyuxia was so moved that he almost cried. For Zyuxia, who was chased by a large group of Pokémon just after leaving home, Luo Yuan's appearance was like a savior. Nothing, I just happened to meet your creditor, and I came to see you when I heard that you were in danger. Luo Yuan pointed to Zyuxia, who was checking the bicycle next to him. Zyuxia's expression froze when he heard this. Speaking of bicycles, he seemed to have hit it when he fell from the slope just now. Sure enough, when Zyuxia picked up the bicycle, the front wheel of the bicycle was seriously deformed. My bicycle. Zyuxia was stunned and looked at Zyuxia angrily. Zyuxia was very embarrassed because it was indeed his fault. Not only did he ride someone else's bicycle without permission, but he also broke it. We'll talk about the bicycle later. Luo Yuan tried to smooth things over. Pikachu's situation seems a little bad. Should I take you to the Pokémon Center in Viridian City? Luo Yuan glanced at Pikachu. At this time, Pikachu's body was covered with traces of scratches from Spearow, and he just rushed to Zyuxia, so he didn't look very good now. By the way, Pikachu. Zyuxia quickly picked up Pikachu on the ground. Luo Yuan, help me. My Metagross can't hold so many people. How about this? You give Pikachu to me first. I'll take Pikachu to the Pokémon Center first, and you and Zyuxia will come to the Pokémon Center in Viridian to find me later. Metagross simply couldn't carry 3 people and a bicycle. But it was obviously inappropriate to leave Zyuxia here alone, so Luo Yuan proposed this compromise plan. Zyuxia nodded hurriedly. He trusted Luo Yuan, and then looked down at the Pikachu in his arms. Pikachu, be good. Let Luo Yuan take you to the Pokémon Center for treatment first. I'll be there soon. Pikachu was very weak, but still nodded. The scene of Zyuxia standing up to it before had already made it recognize Zyuxia as a trainer. Don't shock me, Pikachu. After taking Pikachu from Zyuxia's hand and admonishing him, Luo Yuan turned over and jumped on the Metagross, flying all the way to the Pokémon Center in Viridian City. A rainbow rose in the sky behind him. When he arrived at the Pokémon Center, the weather had cleared up. The huge Metagross fell from the sky and attracted countless eyes at once. With the shape of Metagross, it must be the most eye-catching one, no matter where it is. What is that Pokémon? It looks so powerful. It seems to be a quasi-god in the Hone region. I want it so much. Amid such exclamations, Luo Yuan put away the Metagross and walked quickly into the Pokémon Center. Luo Yuan walked quickly to the front desk and said to Joy, "Miss Joy, there is a Pikachu here that needs treatment. Is this your Pokémon? Why is it so badly injured?" Joy frowned and asked when she saw Pikachu's appearance. Pikachu's condition is not very good. When Luo Yuan landed just now, she also saw it through the glass door. It is hard to imagine that a trainer with such a strong Pokémon would let his Pokémon be injured like this. "No, this Pikachu belongs to my friend. Because the situation is urgent, I brought it here for treatment first, and he will come later," Luo Yuan said. "It is impossible to take the blame, and it will never be taken again in this life. Is that so? Then leave it to me." Joy nodded, then called Jigglypuff to push Pikachu into the operating room. "Is Pikachu okay?" Luo Yuan asked. Because it was sent in time, there should be no big danger. Thanks to the extremely high level of technology in the Pokémon world and the treatment technology combined with Pokémon skills. As long as it is not dead on the spot, even if it is only one breath left, there is a great possibility of saving it. "Thank you very much. It's okay. This is what I should do." Pikachu was giving first aid. Joey continued to be busy receiving other trainers. Luo Yuan had nothing to do, so he walked to the sofa in the corner. "System, show my number of draws." Number of draws remaining for the host. Normal draw asterisk 1, silver draw asterisk 0, gold draw asterisk 0, platinum draw asterisk 0. Right square bracket looking at the zeros at the end. Luo Yuan's mouth twitched. There's no need to display those that don't exist in the future. Isn't it annoying to display them when they don't exist? Display settings have been modified. Luo Yuan was very satisfied with the system's understanding, and he silently said in his heart, "System, drawing. Congratulations to the host for winning. Chapter 90 Rocket Trio. Lottery in progress. Congratulations to the host for winning the item Metal Film. Metal Film." Luo Yuan heard the system prompt repeat. Metal Film, an item that can make certain Pokémon evolve. I know this. As a loyal fan of Pokémon, Luo Yuan certainly knew that Metal Film was the key item for Scyther to evolve into Giganotosaurus and Onix to evolve into Steelix, and it also had the effect of increasing the attack power of Steel-type Pokémon. The result of this lottery is not bad. The items drawn in this lottery were obviously not as good as the last time, but they were not bad either. Items like Metal Film are still relatively rare, which can be seen from the rarity of Giganotosaurus and Steelix. Drawing Metal Film, whether it is directly let Metagross carry it to increase the power of Steel-type skills, or to capture Onix and Scyther, to use to evolve Pokémon in the future, it is quite useful. Just when Luo Yuan was thinking about where in Kanto he could catch Scyther and Onix, the door of the Pokémon Center was pushed open, and Zyozzy rushed in, followed by Zyloksha who was out of breath. Zyozzy saw Luo Yuan at a glance, rushed over, and asked anxiously, "Luoyan, how is Pikachu? Although I understand your feelings, you have to keep your voice down. This is the Pokémon Center." Seeing that many people in the Pokémon Center were looking over here, Luo Yuan was a little helpless. Zyozzy was too nervous and didn't think about considering other people's feelings at all. When Luo Yuan reminded him, Zyozzy also noticed this, scratched his head embarrassedly, lowered his voice, and asked Luo Yuan, "Is Pikachu okay?" He ran all the way here just to worry about Pikachu's situation. "It's okay, there's no danger," Luo Yuan said. "Be careful in the future, don't provoke groups of Pokémon. Although I know that Zyozzy has the aura of a protagonist that is in the animation. Who knows if Zyozzy can always escape danger in the real world." "Yeah." Zyozzy nodded in fear. The scene of being chased by the Spearow before still made him feel scared. But fortunately, it was all over. "By the way, Zyozzy, what are you going to do with Zyloksha's bicycle?" Seeing Zyloksha holding the bicycle and still panting, Luo Yuan asked with a smile. "Yes, give me back my bicycle," Zyloksha said. She had seen her bicycle before. The entire front wheel hub was completely broken, and the bicycle bracket was twisted and deformed. Basically, the whole bicycle was scrapped. "I will pay." Zyozzy was dejected. Zyloksha looked satisfied, and her resentment towards Zyozzy was also relieved. Although this guy was reckless, did not consider the feelings of others, and rode away her bicycle without permission, he was still very responsible. Before she could be happy for long, she heard Zyozzy followed up with another sentence, "But I don't have money." What? Zyosha exploded when she heard Zyozzy's words. "But don't worry, I will pay back my debt slowly." Zyozzy apologized very sincerely, but this did not calm Zyosha's anger at all. Just when Zyosha was about to say something, the door of the Pokémon Center suddenly exploded. The Pokémon trainers who were resting at the Pokémon Center were startled, and many of the timid ones fled in panic. Swish! A thick smoke filled the doorway, sealing the entrance to the Pokémon Center. Along with the white smoke, came a series of loud laughter. Ha 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 ha. Who is it? Zyozzy asked subconsciously. Luo Yuan's mouth twitched, and the most classic line came. Who is it? A male voice said. Since you are asking sincerely, Musashi with red hair in the smoke, posed with his back against Kajiro. Blue-haired Kajiro holds a rose in his mouth. We will tell you mercifully. To prevent the world from being destroyed. To protect world peace. To implement love and true evil. A cute and charming villain. Musashi. Kajiro. We are Team Rocket traveling through the galaxy. White hole. A white tomorrow is waiting for us. That's it. Meow. Broken voice. Meowth jumped out from the middle. After a long string of lines were read, the entire Pokémon Center was quiet. The Rocket Trio appeared as in the plot, but it seemed that their debut was not smooth. The Pokémon Center was so quiet that you could hear a pin drop, and only the hissing sound of smoke bombs releasing smoke remained. The Rocket Trio was quite embarrassed. What should they do if no one pays attention to their slogans? Just when they couldn't get off the stage. Pa pa pa. A series of applause broke the strange silence. Under the gaze of everyone, Luo Yuan clapped his hands and applauded. The lines are well said. Thank you very much. Musashi, Kajiro, and Meowth bowed to express their gratitude. After thanking them, the three of them stood up suddenly, and Musashi and Kajiro threw out the Pokeball together. To show your gratitude, hand over your Pokémon. Team Rocket is doing the job. Everyone hand over your Pokémon immediately. Team Rocket? Many trainers' faces changed drastically when they heard this. Run. Someone shouted, and a group of trainers rushed to the door in a swarm. Team Rocket. The name alone is enough to scare these passers-by trainers. Gas bomb. Use poison gas. Stop them. Kajiro said without raising his head, holding the rose in his hand. Swish. In midair, Gas Bomb's body suddenly spit out a large amount of poison gas, blocking all the trainers in front of the door. Pip, fierce wind. Blow away the poison gas. Finally, a trainer remembered that they still had Pokémon, threw out a Pokeball and shouted. Musashi next to Kajiro was not panicked at all when he saw this. Arbok, poison needle. A large number of poison needles shot at the Pidgeot that had just been released. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Pidgeot fell to the ground with poison needles all over his body. Pidgeot. The Pidgeot trainer quickly picked up the Pidgeot on the ground. Hiss. All the trainers who saw this scene took a deep breath and silently withdrew their hands from reaching for the Pokeball. Team Rocket is not something we can deal with. Why hasn't Miss Junsha arrived yet? A trainer shouted. Luo Yuan, what is Team Rocket? Zyozzy asked. At this time, Zyozzy's question was so abrupt amid the desperate cries of the trainers. Chapter 10 Optional Missions. Luo Yuan was also stunned by Zyozzy's question. At this moment, he suddenly remembered that Zyozzy didn't seem to know Team Rocket. Stupid. Team Rocket is a bad guy who specializes in stealing other people's Pokémon. Zyosha said on the side. Bad guy? Zyozzy looked alert. Zyosha. Luo Yuan. Your reaction arc is too long. Yes, we are the bad guys. Hearing Zyosha's words, Musashi and Kajiro were not ashamed but proud. Musashi and Kajiro stopped in front of many trainers and smiled triumphantly. Hand over the Pokémon quickly. Arbok tied up a Rattata, and the desperate cry of the Rattata was exactly the same as that of the current trainers. For the trainers in the Pokémon Center, who can't even be called Pokémon trainers, and can barely be called Pokémon breeders, Arbok and Gas Bomb are simply an insurmountable chasm. I won't hand Pikachu to you. Zyozzy shouted loudly. It's so funny, Kit, who cares about the electric mice that can be seen everywhere? Musashi complained. Kajiro also echoed. That's right, we want precious Pokémon. Luo Yuan laughed. Really fragrant warning. Hey, Kit, what are you laughing at? Don't think we will let you go just because you applaud us. Hand over your Pokémon. Musashi felt inexplicably unhappy when he saw Luo Yuan laughing. Me? Are you sure? Luo Yuan didn't expect that Musashi was going to use him as a scapegoat. Yes, it's you. Following Musashi's voice, Arbok straightened up, stared at Luo Yuan, and made a deterrent gesture. Then let's see if you have the strength to do it. Luo Yuan's mouth corners slightly raised and glanced at the Rocket Trio. Excuse me, you three are all losers. Kit, you are looking for death. Musashi was so angry when he heard this and waved his hand and said, Arbok, use entanglement. Entangle him for me. Hiss. Arbok spit out its tongue and swam towards Luo Yuan quickly along the S-shaped trajectory on the ground. What's up? Are you scared? Meow. Meow meow said on the side. Zyozzy. Zyraksha. Zyozzy and Zyraksha looked at the Rocket Team trio with pity. Hey, what are you looking at? Seeing this, Musashi shouted, we are Team Rocket. Since when did the name of Team Rocket become useless in Kanto? As soon as she finished speaking, she heard Luo Yuan chuckle. Go ahead, Metagross, show them some color, don't kill them. Metagross? Musashi was confused. Is there such a Pokémon? What is that? Meow. Meow meow was also full of question marks. Only Kagero's face changed drastically. No way. Hurry. Before the word run came out, the Rocket Team trio saw a flash of white light, and a huge Metagross blocked Luo Yuan's way. Arbok didn't have time to brake, and crashed into it directly, knocking himself into stars, while the Metagross didn't even shake. Kagero, Musashi, and Meowth all swallowed their saliva, their faces showing horror. Kagero said in a difficult tone, Metagross is a quasi-god level Pokémon in the Hone region. It is said that the champion of the Hone region has a Metagross. Hearing this, Musashi and Meowth's hearts sank to the bottom. On the contrary, the trainers in the Pokémon Center were overjoyed. Great. We are saved now. Metagross. It looks super strong. Team Rocket is no match at all. Cheers and flattering words surrounded Luo Yuan's ears. Luo Yuan smiled slightly and did not get carried away by these flattering. He always believed that people should not be easily influenced by external things. I heard that you want me to hand over the Pokémon? Misunderstanding. We dare not. Please let us go. The three members of Team Rocket who were about to escape quickly admitted their defeat. The rapid change of face refreshed everyone's cognition. Your attitude is very sincere, but unfortunately I still can't let you go. Luo Yuan smiled and said, Megalodon, use telekinesis to control them. In an instant, the Rocket Trio, Arbok, and Vastus were fixed in the air. Then Luo Yuan said to Miss Joy, who was full of gratitude, contact Miss Junsha. I remember there is a bounty on these three guys. The bounty was also an important reason why Luo Yuan didn't just shoot the Rocket Trio away, but kept them. No. The Rocket Trio would rather be shot away. Going to jail is too embarrassing. Especially in Tokiwa City, under the nose of Boss Sakaki. They will not be able to raise their heads in the Rocket Team in the future. Ignoring the three people howling over there, Luo Yuan looked at the newly refreshed tasks on the task panel. Optional task, get out of Tokiwa City after this battle. The leader of the Rocket Team, Boss Sakaki, has noticed you. Please defeat the attacking Rocket Team members. Task completion, 0/10. Task reward, depends on the completion situation. Luo Yuan, system, are you sure I have to choose this kind of task when it is refreshed? This is clearly telling me that Sakaki has set his sights on you and wants to cause trouble for you. Luo Yuan didn't know why Sakaki noticed him. Was it simply because he defeated the Rocket Trio, or because of the strength he showed, or because of his identity as a former Pokémon prosecutor? But no matter what, being targeted by Sakaki, the Rocket Team boss, is not good news. Never mind, even the Rocket Team wouldn't dare to act so blatantly in the police station. Thinking of this, Luo Yuan smiled and greeted Miss Junsha who had rushed over. Miss Junsha, we meet again. Chapter 11 Sakaki's Brain. Tokiwa Gym, Underground, Team Rocket's secret base Matori, do you have anything to report? Sakaki leaned back against the huge sofa, stroking the head of the cat boss with his palm, looking at the short-haired woman with glasses who came in. The woman's name is Mitori, and she is Sakaki's secretary. Boss Sakaki, Musashi, Koichiro, Meow Meow. The mission of the three people failed, Mitori said. Sakaki paused while stroking the cat boss's hand. Why? Although Musashi, Koichiro and the others are trash, the trainers at the Pokémon Center in Tokiwa City are even worse than trash in Sakaki's eyes. It stands to reason that such a small mission should not have any mistakes. They encountered a powerful trainer while performing the mission. Mitori emphasized the word powerful when speaking. Powerful? Manaji nodded and said, yes, the Pokémon used by the other party is Metagross, the quasi-god Metagross in the Hone region. Hearing Metagross, Sakaki frowned. Metagross? Have you checked the identity of the other party? The most famous Pokémon that uses Metagross is the Sfuchi family. They control most of the iron dumbbells, metal monsters and Metagross in the Hone region. The representative figure is the champion of Hone, Sfuchi Dago. So Sakaki immediately thought of the Sfuchi family. Could it be that the Sfuchi family and Devon Manufacturing are preparing to enter Kanto? Sakaki guessed. Seeing the big picture from the small details is a necessary quality for a qualified tyrant, and Sakaki is no exception. Only to hear Manaji continue, it has been investigated. The other party's name is Luo Yuan, a former Pokémon trainee prosecutor of the Alliance. He was punished for making a mistake in an operation. After being punished, he took the initiative to resign and set off to travel as a rookie trainee this year. It was not found that he had any connection with the Sfuchi family. Discipline, resignation, rookie trainee. Sakaki stroked the head of the cat boss. This is completely unreasonable. The other party has Metagross. What kind of action can go wrong to the point of needing punishment? Moreover, since when can even trainers with Metagross only serve as trainee prosecutors? As for the operation of resigning to become a rookie trainer, Sakaki couldn't understand it even more. Sakaki found many loopholes in the information narrated by Mana. It seems that the other party has a conflict with a family in the Alliance. Mana investigated the reason why Luo Yuan resigned before and said, however, because the source of the information was inaccurate, she had some uncertainty in her tone. First, get those three guys out of the police station. Sakaki frowned and thought for a while, and finally made a decision. In any case, the Musashi trio must be rescued. Although these three guys are a little stupid, the identities of Musashi and Koichiro cannot be easily given up. As for the one named Luo Yuan, arrange someone to test it. Sakaki believes that a former Pokémon prosecutor with Metagross will not resign for no reason and become a rookie trainer. Combined with the fact that his rocket team has been very active recently, he thinks this is very likely a plan of the Alliance against the rocket team. This has happened before. Sometimes the Alliance would ask some prosecutors to pretend to be dissatisfied with the Alliance and resign, and then join Team Rocket as undercover agents to obtain intelligence from Team Rocket. So Sakaki was very careful. Yes, Boss Sakaki. Manaji responded. Luo Yuan didn't know that he had attracted Sakaki's attention because he gave up his identity as a Pokémon prosecutor. It was already evening when he left the police station. In just 2 days, he had been in prison for the second time. Could it be that he had a connection with the police station or with Junsha? Just as he was thinking, Luo Yuan suddenly felt that someone was watching him. He turned back subconsciously, but found that the street behind him was empty. Luo Yuan frowned. His sense was always accurate. He turned his head and continued to move forward. The feeling of being watched came to his mind again. He turned his head again, but still found nothing unusual on the street behind him. No, there's a problem. Luo Yuan keenly sensed that something was wrong. Someone was following him. He continued to move forward without a look on his face, quickly shuttled through the complex streets, and after turning around and around, Luo Yuan came to an alley where he didn't even know where it was. Suddenly he stood still in the alley. No need to hide. Come out. Luo Yuan said in a deep voice. There was no sound behind him, only the rustling sound of the wind, as if there was really no one. However, Luo Yuan's expression did not change at all, and he continued, people from Team Rocket, do you want me to invite you out? Combined with the previous task refreshed by the system, there is no doubt that the people following him can only be people from Team Rocket. accompanied by applause. The air was distorted, and a figure appeared at the other end of the alley. Suddenly, a woman appeared, with short hair, earrings on her ears, a curvy figure, and an R icon printed on her chest. She was wearing a grey hip-wrapped short skirt uniform that was different from the ordinary Rocket members, which was quite eye-catching even in the night. This female Rocket team cadre was followed by a Sulipa. It seemed that just now, she used the Sulipa to hide herself in the air. You can actually find my trace. It seems that you are not an ordinary trainer, just like what Boss Sakaki speculated. As soon as she appeared, the female Rocket team cadre said this. Although he had long suspected that Team Rocket was following him, Luo Yuan still had a puzzled look on his face when he heard this. What did Sakaki guess? Why am I different? Luo Yuan didn't know that Sakaki had imagined him as some kind of conspiracy of the Alliance, so he was a little confused now. Chapter 12 Team Rocket offers a sham. Seeing Luo Yuan's look, the female Rocket team leader sneered. Playing dumb? It doesn't matter, I'll make you spit out everything you know. After saying that, she took out a Pokeball from her pocket. Remember my name, Team Rocket leader, Sam. After saying that, she tapped the mini Pokeball in her hand with her fingers, and the Pokeball quickly grew larger, and then she threw it. Go, to poking. In a red light, a pink Pokémon with a huge shell on its head appeared in the alley. Hippoking, the evolved form of Slowpoke, after using the King certificate, is different from the stupid Slowpoke Hippo and Slowpoke. Hippoking has quite amazing wisdom and inspiration. Luo Yuan's mind emerged with the information of Hippoking. Should I say that I'm worthy of being a member of Team Rocket? I can actually get such a precious Hippoking. Because humans have not yet solved the secret of how Slowpoke evolves into Hippoking, and wild Hippoking is quite difficult to catch. Hippoking can be said to be a very precious Pokémon. Sam didn't answer, but snorted coldly, HMPH. If you are planning to delay time, I'm afraid you will miscalculate. We have surrounded this place with Team Rocket. As Sam spoke, many Team Rocket members with Pokémon walked out of the alley behind Luo Yuan, and surrounded Luo Yuan in the center with Sam, Beedrill, Arbo, Gas Bomb, Zubat. All the elves of Team Rocket are extremely aggressive Pokémon. 1, 2, 3, 9, plus you. There are exactly 10. Luo Yuan counted the number of people, and it just matched the 10 people issued by the system. 10 people are enough to deal with you. Hand over the Metagross, and then tell me your origins obediently, and I can let you go. Sam stroked the earrings on her ears and said charmingly. With the Hippoking in front, and so many men cooperating, she has already won. Do you think you can win? Do you think you can still resist? Sam asked back. As she spoke, Hippopotamus' eyes glowed blue, and an invisible binding force wrapped around Luo Yuan's body, trying to capture Luo Yuan directly. Sensing the telekinesis, Luo Yuan threw out the Pokeball containing Metagross. Metagross. Buzz. The air trembled, and Metagross, which was a circle larger than a car, appeared in the alley. Hippopotamus telekinesis collided with Metagross and dissipated directly, but Metagross was not affected at all. Seeing Metagross, Luo Yuan flipped over and landed on Metagross, and Metagross quickly took off. Sam was shocked. Oh no, he's going to run. Everyone, do it. Hippopotamus, use your mental telekinesis. Hearing the orders from the cadres, the Rocket team members below also commanded their Pokémon to chase after him. Beedrill, use Poison Needle. Zubat, Ultrasonic Wave. Arbusnake, Irontail. A Rocket team member took out a rocket launcher-like object from the backpack beside him and carried it on his shoulder, aiming at Luo Yuan. This was a Pokémon catching net specially used to catch large wild Pokémon. But before the Rocket team member pulled the trigger to launch the catching net, he saw that the rapidly rising Metagross in the sky suddenly turned back. Not only did it not escape, but it turned back and rushed towards the Rocket team below who were preparing to chase it. No, get out of the way. Seeing that Metagross easily avoided the attack of Hippoking and pounced on the Pokémon under her command, Sham thought it was not good. She was fooled. Luo Yuan had no intention of running away. Too late. Luo Yuan laughed, looking at the Pokémon below who were panicked because of the sudden return of Metagross. Under Luo Yuan's command, Metagross used a bullet punch to hammer a Beedrill. that failed to dodge to the ground, smashing a big hole in the ground and losing its combat ability. The rest of the Pokémon were so scared that they dared not continue to attack and fled madly. Damn it. Hippoking, use Water Wave. To make up for the loss, under the order of Sham, Hippoking quickly joined the battle. She tried to use this method to tie up Metagross and give her men a chance to breathe. Hippoking nodded, stretched out his two short hands, and the pink crystal on his head glowed faintly. A wave of water shot from between his two hands to the bottom of Metagross. That was where Metagross was about to fall. Seeing the water wave emitted by Hippoking, Luo Yuan, who was sitting on the back of Metagross, did not panic. He took out another Pokeball from his waist without rushing. Bulbasaur, use Leaf Blade. There is no reason why you can besiege me, but I can only use one Pokémon, and Leaf Blade is one of the only 3 grass type skills of Luo Yuan's Bulbasaur. After a white light, a Bulbasaur appeared in his arms. Seeds. With the sound of swishing, more than 10 flying blades shot at the incoming water wave. The flying blades collided with the water wave and were directly smashed. Bulbasaur's level was still too low, and it was a bit too difficult to fight against Hippoking, but it was enough. Being blocked by Bulbasaur, Metagross not only had time to deal with Arbok, who was about to escape, but also Metagross, Light Wall. A light wall blocked the way of the water wave. The two collided, and the water wave exploded into water splashes on the spot. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Luo Yuan took out 4 earplugs from his backpack and stuffed them into Bulbasaur and his own ears, and then ordered, Metagross, metal sound. Zizzy. The harsh and sharp metal sound echoed in the alley, making people upset and headache. Chapter 13 Hippoking. The metallic sound interrupted the Hippoking's subsequent skills, and at the same time, made the people and Pokémon in the whole alley very irritated. In the game, the effect of the metallic sound is to reduce the target's special defense by 2 levels, but in this real world, the strength of Pokémon will naturally not be reflected in the form of data. However, based on the effect Luo Yuan observed with his naked eyes, it is not known whether the metallic sound can reduce the Pokémon's defense, but it has the miraculous effect of disrupting the opponent's offensive rhythm. Damn it. Cover your ears. As a cadre of the Rocket team, Sam reacted quickly and gave his subordinates a response order. However, this is not a turn-based game. Just as the Rocket team and the Pokémon covered their ears, Luo Yuan jumped off the Metagross and shouted, "Target Hippoking, Metagross, Mind Hammer." With an order, a white light condensed in the center of the X-shaped metal strip in front of the Metagross's head. The light became dazzling at a speed visible to the naked eye. The Metagross clamped its forearms together, and its body turned into a huge flying saucer and crashed straight into the Hippoking. Sam was shocked. "Hippoking, get out of the way." After the battle, she had roughly figured out the strength of Metagross. Whether it was strength, speed or reaction, it was far superior to her Hippoking. Once her Hippoking was hit by the Mind Hammer, he would probably lose his ability to fight on the spot. However, although she was nervous, she was not too panicked. Although the Mind Hammer was strong, its attack trajectory was too single. Only a rookie trainer would let his Pokémon hit it stupidly with a straight attack. Just get out of the way. With this thought in mind, Sam looked at her Hippoking, but she was horrified to find that the Hippoking did not get out of the way according to her instructions, but stood there covering his ears. Yes, Sam just remembered that the Hippoking could not hear her orders at this time. Damn, this idiot. She subdued this Hippoking by unconventional means. Although he was usually obedient under the whip and punishment, he did not have the tacit understanding that she had cultivated since childhood. Seeing the Metagross rushing towards him like a meteor, Sham, who put her own safety first, didn't care about Hippoking and jumped to the other side of the alley. Boom. The head of the Metagross hit Hippoking, knocking him away and smashing him against the wall, making a big hole. In the collapsed ruins, Hippoking was lying on the ground, having lost his ability to fight. Master Sham failed. How strong is that Metagross? Damn it. Gas bomb, come back to me. Many members of Team Rocket looked at the scene in horror. They couldn't imagine that Master Sham, who was invincible in their eyes, would actually fail. Even Gas Bomb of a Rocket member was scared and ran away. "I heard that you want to besiege me. Luo Yuan stood there, watching the Metagross turn around and blow away all the Pokémon of a group of Team Rocket soldiers with a destructive death ray. He put his hands in his pockets. Bulbasaur stood at his feet. Eevee stood on his shoulder, staring at Sam, who had just avoided Metagross. "I'm here." Seeing Luo Yuan and Metagross, the Rocket Team's soldiers were all terrified. Even Sam, Akada, gritted her teeth and almost squeezed out a word from her teeth. "Retreat." Today's mission has failed. Because she brought a large number of people, she did not bring too many main Pokémon this time. In addition to this epoking, the main Pokémon is only a cat boss, and the others are not worth mentioning. Now that her subordinates have been defeated, she doesn't think her cat boss can defeat Luo Yuan. She raised her hand and wanted to take back the hippoking on the ground and evacuate. Bang! The red beam was interrupted by Bulbasaur's vine whip while it was still in the air. "Come and go as you please. What gives you the illusion that I'm easy to bully?" Luo Yuan stared at Sam. "Do you really think he is a soft persimmon? Fight when you want to fight, run when you want to run. Do you really think he has no temper?" As Luo Yuan spoke, the Metagross floated in the sky, staring at Sam with eager eyes, as if it would pounce down and kill Sam as soon as it had the chance. Being stared at by the Metagross like this, Sam felt creepy. It is said that the Metagross is a very ferocious Pokémon. The way of eating of the Metagross is quite barbaric. It will directly fall from the sky, press the prey under its huge body, and tear it into pieces directly through the mouth in the lower abdomen. This Metagross doesn't want to eat me. Once this thought appeared, it was lingering. Fear rose in her heart, and Sam didn't care about the hippoking on the side, and directly ordered Saliba to use teleportation to disappear in the alley. TSK, decisive. Seeing Saliba disappear with Sam, Luo Yuan sighed. He originally planned to use the hippoking to contain Sam, and then use the Metagross to take her down in one fell swoop, but he didn't expect that the other party would be so decisive and run away directly. However, the simplicity of this battle was beyond his expectation. He thought the opponent was very strong, and Luo Yuan deliberately used a trick to trick them, but he didn't expect that they were so weak. "I've devoted so much effort in vain." Luo Yuan didn't bother to catch those Rocket Team minions, because the system showed mission completed. 10/10. After putting the Metagross back into the Pokeball, he walked towards the hippoking in the ruins. Hippoking. Luo Yuan looked at the hippoking left by Sam and fell into deep thought. Chapter 14, Viridian Forest at Night. Q. After a Pokémon is captured, can the owner be changed before the owner releases it? A. Yes. Humans capture Pokémon by marking the Pokémon with the Pokéball, achieving a state of binding between the Pokéball and the Pokémon, so that the Pokémon can be collected back into the Pokéball at will. But as long as a mark can be washed off, the Pokémon can be untied from the original Pokéball and captured with a new Pokéball. This is why some evil organizations such as Team Rocket kidnap the Pokémon of trainers and reuse them. As a former Pokémon prosecutor, Luo Yuan naturally learned about this method when he was in the Prosecutor Academy. There are even instruments specially developed for this purpose. He is now considering whether he should capture this hippoking. After all, the hippoking is a relatively rare Pokémon. But after thinking about it, he finally gave up this plan. It was too troublesome. Although the hippoking is rare, this Pokémon that is not cultivated by oneself is not easy to use, and it is easy to lose the chain in battle. Sam was the best example. If it was a Pokémon that he had cultivated, it would definitely not cover its ears and not listen to instructions. Moreover, Luo Yuan actually liked the silly and cute Slowpoke more than the hippoking. He called Junsha and asked her to clean up the mess. He also used the hippoking as evidence of his defeat of the Rocket Team's cadres and collected a large bounty at the Tokiwa police station. Luo Yuan took advantage of the night to quickly leave Tokiwa City. The secret base of the Rocket Team in the Tokiwa gym. Sam was defeated and even lost a Pokémon. Sakaki heard the news sent back by Mana, and his face changed from his previous calmness, and he asked in surprise. Failed. Mana nodded. He escaped back with the help of teleportation. It seems that Luo Yuan's strength is beyond my imagination. Sakaki originally thought that he could send a middle-level cadre of the Rocket Team and a group of subordinates to deal with a little kid who only had a Metagross. Now it seems that he was careless. "Boss Sakaki, do we still want to continue to test?" Mana asked. "No, it's not necessary." Sakaki tapped the table with his fingers and shook his head slowly. Why? It was really puzzling. The other party was just one person, and their rocket team spanned the two major alliances of Chengdu and Kanto. Even if it was the most prestigious Xianwan doing the current alliance, their rocket team would not necessarily be afraid. No need. Sakaki touched the head of the cat boss. The enemy hiding in the dark is terrible. Now that he has come to the light and exposed his strength, there is nothing to be afraid of. As long as the other party does not do anything behind the scenes. With the current strength of the rocket team, they are not afraid of any head-on conflict. Yes. By the way, those three idiots, have they been bailed out? Sakaki thought of Musashika Jiro and the Meowth trio who were arrested before. They have been bailed out because they caused a lot of damage in the Pokémon Center, so it cost a lot of money. When talking about spending a lot of money, Minori was obviously a little bit painful. She was usually responsible for assisting Sakaki in coordinating the expenses and income of the rocket team. In her opinion, it was a waste to spend money on bailing these three people. Tell them this is the last time. Also, the bail will be deducted from their salary. Sakaki said. We have to give those three guys a warning to prevent them from getting too arrogant. Yes. Luo Yuan didn't know that the rocket trio was released on bail just after he left Viridian City. Of course, he wouldn't care even if he knew. At this time, he was walking in the Viridian Forest at night. If the Viridian Forest during the day was full of the fresh breath of life and very lively, the Viridian Forest at night was silent. The insect-type Pokémon and flying-type Pokémon that were active during the day fell into a deep sleep, and the Pokémon that hid during the day and came out at night, such as Rattata and Arbok, woke up. There were even a few ghost-type Pokémon. The Viridian Forest at night is quite dangerous. Luo Yuan commanded Bulbasaur to kill an Arbok that rushed out of the bushes on the side of the road and intended to attack him, and sighed. This was the 7th Pokémon he killed. No wonder Junsha reminded me to be careful when I left before. No matter which world you are in, walking at night is a very dangerous thing. As he was talking, Luo Yuan suddenly heard a creepy laugh. Turning his head, he saw a ghost floating behind him, grinning and laughing sharply, looking quite scary. Huh? Ghost? Luo Yuan's first reaction was not fear, but curiosity. Ghost-type Pokémon? Bulbasaur, use Leaf Blade. Although Bulbasaur next to him was very scared when he saw the ghost, he still responded immediately after hearing Luo Yuan's command. Seed. Bulbasaur summoned up the courage to shout at the ghost and shot a series of leaf blades from its back. The leaf blades pierced through the ghost's body, but had no effect except for creating ripples. Quack. The ghost laughed strangely and approached Bulbasaur. Poor Bulbasaur had never seen such a situation before, and was so scared that he turned around and ran away, jumping into Luo Yuan's arms and burying his head in Luo Yuan's clothes, trembling all over and not daring to show his head. Luo Yuan rubbed his chest, which was hurt by Bulbasaur. He felt that Bulbasaur would kill him first without Ghost. Seeing Ghost getting closer and closer, the air became colder. Luo Yuan finally spoke. Don't pretend I already recognized you, Ghastly. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 15 Ghastly. Stop pretending I've recognized you, Ghastly. Hearing Luo Yuan's voice, the ghost that was floating towards Luo Yuan froze, paused for a moment, and then floated towards Luo Yuan, as if he hadn't heard anything, as if he didn't know what you were talking about. Luo Yuan looked at the ghost that was still approaching him, as if nothing had happened, and twitched his mouth. How shameless. So he said, you don't think I'm testing you, do you? Apart from the ghost pretending to be Ghastly, which ghost would make a weird cackle? Hearing Luo Yuan's words, Ghastly finally couldn't hold it anymore. The human in front of him really recognized it. The air twisted, and the ghost, that looked very scary, suddenly turned into Ghastly. the black body made of unknown substances, surrounded by purple mist, wide eyes, and two fangs at the corners of the mouth. Ghastly exuded a gloomy and mysterious atmosphere under the night. After revealing his true form, Ghastly laughed and approached Luo Yuan with a strange smile. Purple gas lingered around it. It stared at Luo Yuan with wide eyes and evil eyes, and opened its mouth to expose its two sharp teeth. It stared at Luo Yuan, trying to see a look of fear on his face. But it was doomed to be disappointed. Luo Yuan just looked at the Ghastly in front of him quietly. It is a circle larger than the standard Ghastly. The gas around its body is also very strong, and its eyes are also very motivated. It looks like it has developed very well. Obviously, Luo Yuan was not scared by Ghastly, and he still had time to pay attention to Ghastly's development. Gaga. Ghastly is a high IQ Pokémon. Ghastly, who has been scaring passers-by for fun for many years, obviously understands human language. After hearing Luo Yuan's words, Ghastly screamed angrily, and a cold breath emanated from his body. But its appearance was really not intimidating to Luo Yuan. Maybe in the eyes of people who grew up listening to horror stories about ghost Pokémon, Ghastly is quite scary, but in the eyes of Luo Yuan, a time traveler, Ghastly is not scary at all, and its eyes look quite cute. As for Ghastly's aura, Luo Yuan was feeling a little hot after traveling for so long. "You're angry just like that?" Luo Yuan laughed. He tossed the advanced ball in his hand. "Let's play a game, Ghastly. If you lose, how about becoming my Pokémon?" Luo Yuan had the idea of taming this Ghastly. It didn't attack humans right away, so it was obvious that this Ghastly didn't hate humans, so it was relatively easy to train. It was a circle larger than ordinary Ghastly, which showed that it had excellent potential and was worth cultivating. In addition, this Ghastly came to his door, so Luo Yuan felt that it would be a bit unreasonable if he didn't tame it. Haha. Ghastly understood what Luo Yuan meant and immediately got angry. In Ghastly's view, this human in front of him was not only not afraid of him, but also wanted to tame him, which was simply unforgivable. Haha. Ghastly screamed, and the purple gas around his body suddenly became thicker, covering a large area. It planned to teach this human in front of it a lesson. Let this guy know that it is not easy to bully. I like your eyes. Go ahead, Metagross. He has 3 Pokémon in his hand now. Among them, Eevee can only perform simple moves such as colliding, shaking its tail, glaring, and flashing. Bulbasaur is better, but it also has physical attacks such as seed machine guns, leaf blades, and vine whips. It is useless in the battle against Ghastly, who has no entity. So Luo Yuan sent out Metagross. Although Metagross, which has psychic attributes, is restrained by Ghastly's ghost attribute, it also restrains Ghastly's poison attribute. It is the best choice at present. But the appearance of Metagross is still so shocking. Its huge size and fierce breath startled many sleeping wild Pokémon. Ghastly, who was about to pounce on the opposite side, trembled when he saw Metagross. The voice seemed to be stuck, and there was a look of fear in his eyes. It seemed to say, "It's just too scary." However, this emotion only lasted for about a few seconds, and Ghastly was filled with a feeling of shame. As a ghost-type Pokémon, it was actually frightened by the object it was trying to scare. Ghastly regrouped and prepared to let Luo Yuan see how powerful it was. Hehe. Ghastly laughed twice, and a poisonous gas spread towards Luo Yuan and Metagross. Seeing this scene, Luo Yuan immediately laughed. This Ghastly was obviously an uneducated Ghastly. If it knew a little bit about attribute restraint, it would never use poison type moves to deal with Metagross with psychic attributes. Looking at the poisonous fog that was spreading, Luo Yuan snapped his fingers. "Metagross, stop this poisonous fog." Metagross nodded, activated its telekinesis, and used telekinesis to build a wall in front of it, blocking the poisonous fog from advancing. Seeing that the poisonous fog did not work, Ghastly was very angry. Before it could continue to launch the next round of offensive, Metagross had already launched an attack. Metagross, mental power. The strong mental fluctuations tore through the poisonous fog in front of it, and directly acted on Ghastly. The defenseless Ghastly was hit hard, and cried out in pain. Geez. A shadow ball formed in front of Ghastly and smashed towards Metagross. You can also use shadow balls. Luo Yuan was not surprised but happy. He was more and more optimistic about this Ghastly now. Metagross, Comet Punch. Metagross raised his fist, and the iron arm smashed the flying shadow ball with a sharp whistle that tore through the air. Boom. The shadow ball exploded. The airwave raised a lot of sand and dust, and Luo Yuan had to block it with his arm to prevent the sand from blowing into his eyes. Ghastly was also blown away by the sudden strong wind. For Ghastly, whose body is made of gas, the strong wind can blow his body away, which can be said to be a very threatening attack. When the smoke and dust cleared, Luo Yuan just saw Ghastly, who was about to escape when he saw the situation was not good. Metagross, catch it. What a joke. If Ghastly ran away, wouldn't the previous battle be in vain? Hearing Luo Yuan's order, Metagross immediately controlled Ghastly with telekinesis. Ghastly struggled, but the level difference was too big, and it couldn't get rid of Metagross's control. Knock it out, Metagross. He ordered Metagross to use telekinesis to hit Ghastly hard, and then Luo Yuan threw the Pokeball. Chapter 16 Nibby City. Bus. The button on the Pokeball flashed 3 times while shaking. Boom. Ghastly was successfully captured. This is my 4th Pokémon. Luo Yuan felt that his speed of capturing Pokémon was not bad. Maybe not as fast as Xiaomao, but at least much faster than Xiaozi. Of course, it was mainly because Luo Yuan did not want to capture so many Pokémon. Although he did not intend to go to extremes and build his Pokémon lineup around only 1 or 2 Pokémon, he did not want to capture a lot of messy Pokémon and then throw them aside irresponsibly. He captured Ghastly because this Ghastly was well developed, and Ghastly was a relatively rare Pokémon. Come out, Ghastly. Luo Yuan pressed the button on the Pokeball, and Ghastly's body wrapped in gas appeared in front of Luo Yuan. Hey. Seeing Luo Yuan, Ghastly looked dejected. Obviously Ghastly had realized the fact that he had lost. Wild Pokémon are generally simple. Even a cunning ghost type Pokémon like Ghastly will not regret losing the bet with Luo Yuan. Okay, don't look so depressed. We will be companions from now on. Luo Yuan rubbed Ghastly's head. Ghastly has become his Pokémon, and Luo Yuan feels it is necessary to cultivate his relationship with Ghastly. Many examples have proved that Pokémon with the same mind as their master will be more powerful in battle. Moreover, if Ghastly's final evolution Jenga wants to super evolve, Luo Yuan and Ghastly need to establish a tacit understanding. Hearing Luo Yuan's comfort and feeling the kindness from Luo Yuan, Ghastly has initially accepted the fact that Luo Yuan has become its master. Hey. Ghastly rubbed Luo Yuan's palm with his head. The tentacles are cold and smooth, and they feel very good. Come, meet your companions. Luo Yuan released Eevee and Bulbasaur and introduced them to Ghastly. Eevee was fine, but Bulbasaur, the timid one, was frightened by Ghastly and hid behind Luo Yuan, trembling. No matter how he called Bulbasaur, it refused to come out. Luo Yuan was speechless. His Bulbasaur was still timid. Ghastly seemed to like this guy who was afraid of him. He kept trying to get close to Bulbasaur and would turn into a ghost to scare Bulbasaur from time to time. Bulbasaur was chased by Ghastly and ran around everywhere, crying enough, stop making trouble, let's go. It was already dawn, and Luo Yuan wanted to rush to the Pokémon Center in Nib City for breakfast. He put away Metagross and the frightened Bulbasaur, and let Eevee and Ghastly follow him. Luo Yuan continued to walk along the path into the depths of Viridian Forest. After Luo Yuan left, the place where Ghastly and Metagross had fought before became quiet again. The scared Pokémon returned and looked for a suitable place to live in the messy forest. The Viridian Forest returned to peace. The next day, Nibby City Luo Yuan moved forward very quickly, and with his excellent sense of direction, it took only one night for Luo Yuan to cross the Viridian Forest between Viridian City and Nibby City. Of course, the Viridian Forest between Nibby City and Viridian City is only a small part of the real Viridian Forest. The real Viridian Forest spans the Kanto and Chengdu regions, located between Viridian City and Deep Grey City. It is quite vast, and it will take more than 1 or 2 days to cross the Viridian Forest. Miss Joy, help me heal my Pokémon. Luo Yuan handed the Pokeball and the Pokebook to Joy. Okay. Joy politely took the Pokémon, swiped it on the machine, and handed it back to Luo Yuan. The information has been logged in. I wonder which Pokémon you want to treat. Bulbasaur, Eevee, and Ghastly. Luo Yuan handed 3 Pokeballs to Joey. More than a day of high-intensity exercise has exhausted Bulbasaur and Eevee, and Ghastly has not recovered from the injuries from the battle with Metagross. In this case, although Luo Yuan can recover by taking care of it himself, it will definitely recover much faster if it is left to a professional like Joey. Okay, please come and pick up the Pokémon in the afternoon. After leaving the Pokémon to Joey, Luo Yuan left the Pokémon Center and walked on the streets of Nibe City, observing Nibe City. Nibe City, because it is adjacent to the mineral-rich Moon Viewing Mountain, is a city with mining as its pillar industry. The city is not too prosperous. After all, it is not a city as famous for business as Golden City, but it is not in decline. And because Nibe City is supported by mining, the air quality in the city is a bit bad, but fortunately it is still within an acceptable range. The most common thing in the city is wearing a miner's hat, accompanied by various rock type and fighting type Pokémon. Because of long-term labor, these Pokémon have very developed muscles. Standing in the city, just as Luo Yuan was thinking about finding someone to inquire about the location of the Nabi gym to prepare for his first gym challenge, a voice suddenly came from the side. "Young man, do you want a stone?" A middle-aged uncle said in a voice that sounded very obscene from a distance, and it felt as greasy as asking, "Brother, do you want to buy a disc?" Luo Yuan turned his head and saw a bearded uncle sitting on the side of the road with a piece of cloth spread out in front of him, on which were a pile of stones, each with a price marked on it. Chapter 17, Moss-Covered Rocks. Stones. Luo Yuan walked over curiously. He had seen people selling books and fruits at stalls, but this was the first time he had seen someone selling stones at a stall. He walked to the middle-aged uncle's stall. The person in front of him was not Wooneng as Luo Yuan expected. Luo Yuan knew the plot in the TV animation, where Wooneng sold stones at a stall. He thought it would be Wooneng who called him, but it turned out not to be him. This made Luo Yuan even more curious. In addition to Zhao Gang's father who was afraid to go home, there were actually people selling stones at a stall in Nabi City. Seeing Luo Yuan coming over, the middle-aged man smiled even more greasy. "Young man, this should be your first time in Nabi City. Come and have a look. These are all rare minerals I dug out from the depths of Yujian Mountain, and there are even fossils." The middle-aged uncle enthusiastically promoted to Luo Yuan. Luo Yuan glanced at the stones on the stall. "Do I look like I'm easy to fool?" Although Luo Yuan didn't know much about fossils, it didn't stop him from seeing a lot. Before crossing, he had watched a lot of science and education films on TV. Even if he didn't understand, he knew that fossils should be a piece of stone with bones, shells or other things of ancient creatures inlaid on the surface. How could they be as black as the ones in front of him? Ahem. Hearing Luo Yuan's words, the middle-aged uncle coughed awkwardly twice. "These are all unidentified fossils. You also know that fossils need to be dissected to know the value of fossils. I don't have so much money to identify them, but I can guarantee that these stones are very likely to be dissected into fossils or even amber and evolutionary stones." Luo Yuan felt that the guy in front of him was insulting his IQ. Goddamn dissection. If there are evolutionary stones here, Luo Yuan bets that this guy in front of him will dissect all these stones, even if he borrows usury. After all, no matter what kind of evolutionary stone, just when Luo Yuan was about to turn around and leave, his eyes were suddenly attracted by something. "This is..." Luo Yuan stretched out his finger and pointed to a huge rock covered with moss in the corner. "What is that stone?" "Oh, this one. I found this stone when I was traveling in the Sinnoh region. I kept it because the moss on it could not be wiped off. Do you want it? I can give you a discount." The middle-aged man took on the responsibility. "It is indeed it." If Luo Yuan was not mistaken, the stone should be a moss-covered rock that can allow Eevee to evolve into Leafeon. The moss-covered rock is a special evolution stone. When an Eevee is upgraded nearby, it will automatically evolve into Leafeon. It is distributed in small quantities in the Sinnoh region, Unova region, Kalos region, Hone region and Alola region. It has not been found in Kanto and Chengdu region. Corresponding to it is the ice-covered rock, which can allow Eevee to evolve into Glaceon. Although Luo Yuan had only seen this kind of stone in the game before the time travel, This kind of evolution stone was mentioned in the Pokémon breeding manual he had obtained before. Combining his memories of his past life, the graphic description of the cultivation manual in his mind, and the middle-aged man's oral description, Luo Yuan was basically sure that this was the moss-covered rock that could allow Eevee to evolve. 10,000 yuan, right? I want it. After confirming it, Luo Yuan did not hesitate, nor did he argue with the middle-aged man. He directly paid the money and took the huge stone away, putting it in the space backpack. Feeling the backpack that had almost no weight increase, Luo Yuan had to sigh at the advanced technology in the Pokémon world. What kind of technology tree did they choose to create something like a space backpack? Seeing Luo Yuan pay so decisively, the middle-aged man was a little stunned and then a little suspicious. Could it be that the stone just sold was really a fossil or a rare evolution stone? After all, according to the currency value of the Pokémon world, 10,000 yuan is not too much or too little. The boy in front of him paid so happily, there must be something wrong. But since it has been sold, no matter how much he lamented, it would be useless. Although the middle-aged man sometimes tricked people into buying stones that were not worth the price, he still had the basic bottom line as a businessman. It was impossible to take back or increase the price of the things he had sold. He could only sigh that he had made a mistake and had learned his lesson. I want to ask you something. Luo Yuan, who had put the evolution stone in his pocket, did not rush to leave, but continued to ask. You say. The middle-aged man quickly adjusted his mood. I want to ask, do you know where I can catch Onyx in Yujian Mountain? Luo Yuan asked. That's right. Luo Yuan had set his sights on Onyx. After getting the metal coating, Luo Yuan thought about catching an Onyx to evolve into Steelix, or catching a Scyther to evolve into a giant claw mantis. But he walked around the evergreen forest all night last night and didn't see any Scyther. It just so happened that he came to Nibe City again. Everyone knows that the more rocks there are, the more likely it is that rock-type Pokémon will appear. I guess he should be able to find Onyx in Yujian Mountain. Onyx? Young man, do you want to catch Onyx? Listen to my advice. Onyx is not something you can deal with now. The uncle shook his head after hearing Luo Yuan's question. In his opinion, Luo Yuan has only been in the industry for 1 or 2 years at most. With this strength, encountering Onyx in the mountains is simply a gift. You know, although Onyx has a good temper, it is not a good-tempered Pokémon. Don't worry, I won't go to die. I'm just asking for help. Do you think I'm that kind of fool? Luo Yuan asked. What you said makes some sense. The middle-aged uncle remembered that Luo Yuan just paid decisively and stuffed the stone into his bag. He was indeed not stupid, but very smart. In this case, it's okay to tell you. There is a mine with a warning sign painted on it in the southwest of Yujian Mountain. There is a Onyx lurking in it. The Nibe City Mining Association has spent a lot of money to reward trainers to capture the Onyx, but no trainer has succeeded so far. The middle-aged uncle said, if your friends want to catch Onyx, you can try, but be sure to be prepared before you go, because Onyx is very strong. Understood, thank you very much. After saying goodbye to the middle-aged uncle, who was hesitant to speak, Luo Yuan walked on the street, looking at the building in the center of the city with the logo of the Nibe City Mining Association, and the moon viewing mountain in the distance. There is a bounty for catching Onyx. Where can I find such a good thing? Luo Yuan said to himself, throwing the Pokeball containing Metagross in his hand. As he spoke, he walked towards the building of the Mining Association. Although he was very confident in his own strength, he still planned to learn about the information of Onyx according to what the middle-aged uncle said. Chapter 18. The Rock Snake of Mount Tsukimi. Pokémon Mining Association. This is an organization that Luo Yuan had never seen in the anime he watched in his previous life. However, this world is a real world, and it is normal that there are some things that are not shown in the anime. There are a lot of people. As soon as he entered the building where the mining association was located, Luo Yuan saw a hall with many people standing in the hall. Some people were dressed like miners, and some people were dressed like trainers like Luo Yuan. Because there were so many people, the hall was inevitably a little noisy. Luo Yuan did not like this noisy environment, so he quickened his pace and walked to the front desk receptionist. Sir, is there anything I can help you with? Luo Yuan put his hand on the reception desk and tapped the table lightly with his fingers. Where can I check the bounty information? You can check it here. The receptionist was not surprised to see Luo Yuan dressed like a trainer. Every day, many trainers come to check the bounty tasks of the mining association. She handed over a document very skillfully. Here are all the bounty contents at present. Luo Yuan took the document and looked through it. The contents inside were varied, including protection tasks and recruiting trainers to protect the safety of mining personnel and equipment. There are exploration missions. This type of mission is mainly to recruit trainers to explore places that are difficult for ordinary miners to reach, to explore the situation in those places and see if there are any rare mineral deposits. Of course, the most missions are still cleaning missions. The so-called cleaning means clearing threats. When miners are mining, they will inevitably encounter wild Pokémon living in the local area. It's okay if they are weak, but if they encounter some aggressive and bad-tempered Pokémon, then Pokémon trainers are needed. Luo Yuan's task is to capture Onyx, which is entrenched in the mine. It is also this kind of mission. Soon, Luo Yuan found the page of Onyx from the information given by the receptionist. It roughly records the relevant data of Onyx. Luo Yuan saw that this Onyx is about twice the size of an ordinary Onyx. Although in the Pokémon world, big does not necessarily mean strong, but at least for Pokémon like Onyx, the bigger the size, the stronger it is. Luo Yuan pointed at the picture with the word extremely dangerous in red font and said to the receptionist, I want to take this task. The receptionist didn't care at first, but when she saw the picture Luo Yuan pointed at, she couldn't help but exclaimed, Sir, are you sure you want to take this bounty task? It's not her fault that she lost her composure. This task has been posted in the mining association for nearly half a year, and there is a reason why no one has completed it. First of all, this Onyx entrenched in the mine is very powerful. The trainers who took the bounty before couldn't take it down at all, and they were seriously injured by Onyx. Secondly, because the mine occupied by Onyx is not very valuable, there are two different opinions within the association on whether to deal with Onyx. After all, this Onyx is just entrenched in a mine with low value and generally does not actively attack humans, so the association is willing to give a small bounty. As a result, powerful trainers are unwilling to accept this task, and weak trainers cannot complete this task, so this bounty has been posted here for half a year. Luo Yuan couldn't read minds, so of course he didn't know there were so many tricks involved. He just looked at the receptionist. What's wrong? Is there any problem? This Onyx is very strong. The receptionist emphasized the word very strong and emphasized her tone. In her opinion, a young trainer like Luo Yuan is no match for Onyx. You know, Zio Gang, the trainer of the Nibe City gym, that she specially invited before, couldn't do anything to Onyx. I know, I'm also very strong. Luo Yuan smiled and said, can you help me register? The receptionist saw that Luo Yuan was not joking and was a little surprised at his confidence, but since Luo Yuan strongly requested it, she didn't continue to dissuade him. Does this handsome guy really have the confidence to get rid of Onyx? Looking at Luo Yuan's back as he left, the receptionist who had just helped Luo Yuan register thought. Although it was noon and that Tsukumiyama mine, it was quite cool in the mine. Following the map obtained from the mining association, Luo Yuan walked through the complex tunnel. He was very glad that he had visited the mining association before coming here. Otherwise, he didn't know when he could find the location of Onyx in such a complex terrain. It should be in front. Turning a corner, looking at the cave in front of him, Luo Yuan grabbed the Pokeball containing Metagross and walked in. After passing through the cave, the view in front of him suddenly became clear. It was no longer a narrow tunnel, but a huge open-air cave, the size of 2 or 3 basketball courts. There were obvious traces of excavation on the surrounding rock walls. In the center of the open-air cave, a huge Onyx that occupied more than half of the cave was lying on the ground, sleeping soundly. This Onyx looks much bigger than I thought. Luo Yuan looked at the Onyx in front of him, whose body joints were as tall as himself, and said silently, but this is a good thing. The larger the size of Onyx, the stronger it is. Go, Metagross, say hello to Onyx. Luo Yuan threw out the Pokeball. Metagross suddenly appeared in the cave, and Onyx, who was sleeping, suddenly opened his eyes. As the ground shook, Onyx's huge head lifted up with a flexibility that was completely contrary to its size, and stared at Luo Yuan and Metagross with a pair of eyes filled with vigilance and anger. Someone actually dared to come to his territory to provoke. Onyx opened its mouth and roared threateningly at Metagross and Luo Yuan, warning them to leave its territory. "Onyx, I'm here to subdue you. Fight with me." Luo Yuan didn't have the slightest fear on his face. He raised his head and said directly to Onyx. He was not the kind of person who liked to talk. In Luo Yuan's opinion, if you want to subdue Pokémon, you must first defeat Pokémon, and then cultivate feelings. He doesn't have the protagonist Hail of Zyossi, who first cultivates feelings, and then directly subdues Pokémon. He prefers to convince people with reason, the reason of physics. Chapter 19, Battle of Conquest. Pokémon are very intelligent. Although they cannot speak, Pokémon that have come into contact with humans can basically understand human language. For example, Luo Yuan's Ghastly can understand human language because he often pretends to be a ghost to scare passers-by. The Onyx in front of him also knew what Luo Yuan meant, so he immediately let out an angry roar. Many humans wanted to subdue it before, but they were not its opponents. I didn't expect that someone would dare to attack it now. The very angry Onyx raised its head and its sturdy body moved in the open cave. I saw Onyx twisting its body and swinging its tail. With a whistling sound, the tail shining with metallic color hit the Metagross in the sky fiercely. Iron Tail. This move is already very fierce, and when Onyx uses its huge body to perform it, the momentum directly climbs to the peak. Ordinary trainers would probably be scared and at a loss when facing such an attack. But facing Onyx's attack, neither Luo Yuan nor Metagross panicked at all. Strength is Luo Yuan's confidence. Megalodon, block it. Luo Yuan said calmly behind Metagross. Hearing this, Metagross aimed at Onyx's tail and did not dodge, but took the initiative to meet it. Metagross raised its two front paws and crossed them in an X shape in front of its body. Boom. A loud noise came from above, and with the sharp tearing sound of metal collision and friction, Metagross blocked Onyx's steel tail, and it itself did not move at all in midair. Seeing this, Onyx was a little stunned. It was not that it had not fought with other trainers in the past. Those trainers were strong and weak, but no trainer could take on its steel tail so easily. Without waiting for it to take the next step, Luo Yuan spoke first. "Megalodon, grab its tail." Why did he let Metagross resist Onyx's steel tail? The reason is here. Luo Yuan's mouth corners rose, and then it was time for him to counterattack. Hearing this, Metagross's two crossed front claws and two hind claws immediately clamped on Onyx's body like a buckle. The sharp claws at the tips of the claws embedded into Onyx's body, just like cutting tofu. Metagross tightly attached to Onyx's body. Roar. Onyx was pierced by Metagross's claws and roared in pain. Even if you travel through time, there is no way to understand creatures like Pokémon. Luo Yuan looked at Onyx, who was twisting his body in pain and trying to get rid of Metagross, and a strange look flashed in his eyes. Just like the Onyx in front of him, his body is obviously made of stone, but there is a kind of pain. Could it be that stone also has nerves? Luo Yuan is not a researcher, and he just thought about this question. He quickly cast his eyes on Onyx and Metagross who were still entangled. He ordered, "Metagross, mental power. Psychic is the best means of attack in this situation." After hearing Luo Yuan's order, Metagross immediately exerted force. The scalloped eyes hidden under the huge metal fork immediately turned azure blue, and an invisible twisting force acted on Onyx. Onyx's body stiffened at that moment, and then it felt as if its head was suddenly trampled by 10,000 Kintaro, and it felt incomparable pain from its head. It kept hitting the ground with its head, trying to relieve the pain. But it was useless. The attack caused by mental power acts on the mind, or inside the brain, so as long as Onyx does not get rid of the culprit Metagross, this pain will continue. Onyx also understood this. After knocking several big holes in the ground, it swung its tail and kept hitting the ground, and at the same time, rocks kept falling from the sky and hitting Metagross. Rock blockade plus self-sacrifice collision. This Onyx has quite a lot of skills, but I don't know what other skills it has. Luo Yuan was not worried about Metagross at all. Not to mention that Metagross is higher in level than Onix. Just talking about the restraint of steel Pokémon on Onix. Onix is definitely not a match for Metagross. Seeing Onix's physical strength rapidly depleted, the amplitude of its struggle became smaller and smaller, and it was panting heavily, looking like it was no longer able to resist. Luo Yuan smiled slightly. It was time. Metagross, deal with it. Give it the last comet punch. Buzz. Metagross broke away from Onix's body. Onix felt that the claws inserted into its body finally disappeared, and it breathed a sigh of relief. However, before it could completely relax, it felt a fatal threat coming from above. Looking up, it saw a fist shining with dazzling light, like a falling comet, smashing down fiercely. Boom. Onix's head was smashed into the ground, and embedded in it. The huge body tensed up instantly, and then shook, as if it had reached a critical point. Then the whole body relaxed and collapsed on the ground powerlessly. Onix lost its ability to fight. Luo Yuan looked at Onix lying on the ground in front of him, took out the Pokeball from his pocket, and threw it out. Whoosh. Onix turned into a red light, and was sucked into the Pokeball. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The Pokeball shook violently. Compared with the previous time when Ghastly was captured, the shaking of the Pokeball this time was many times more violent. Fortunately, Onix was still unable to break free from the Pokeball in the end. Boom. The sound of successful capture sounded. Luo Yuan walked over slowly and picked up the Pokeball containing Onix. It's really not easy. Luo Yuan looked at the Pokeball in his hand and then looked at the surrounding cave that had been destroyed. The destructive power of the battle between Metagross and Onix was simply too strong. Fortunately, this was in a cave. If it was in the city, at least a few houses would have been demolished. Onix, please give me more advice in the future. After saying to Onix, Luo Yuan hung the Pokeball on his waist. Just as Luo Yuan called Metagross to leave here, suddenly, he saw something in the dirt from the corner of his eye. That is, Luo Yuan narrowed his eyes, walked over with a suspicious look, and dug out the object half buried in the dirt with his hands. Chapter 20. President of the Mining Association. Luo Yuan dug out the object, buried in the soil, and cleaned it with his hands. The object buried in the soil finally revealed its true appearance. It was an oval, jet black stone with irregular rock patterns on the surface. It was about half the size of a human head, and felt icy but not rough. Moonstone? Luo Yuan looked at the stone in front of him, and compared it with the information in his mind, then raised his eyebrows. Whether it was based on the information in the training manual, obtained from the previous lottery, or the introduction of the Moonstone in the game in his previous life, Luo Yuan was sure that this was a Moonstone. He was so lucky today. He could also encounter a rare evolution stone like the Moonstone when catching a rock snake. Big profit. Luo Yuan said with emotion, while stroking the Moonstone in his hand. You know, the Moonstone is a very precious evolution stone. Compared with the evolution stones of Thunder, Leaf, Fire, and Water, which actually have a high production, but are controlled by certain families in the Alliance, the Moonstone is very rare. Since Moonstone does not exist in veins, and only appears in small quantities in some ruins and sparsely populated caves, it can be sold at a high price in the market. For example, if Luo Yuan's evolution stone is cut according to the size of the standard evolution stone in the market, his Moonstone can at least be cut into 3 Moonstones for the evolution of 3 Pokémon. If Luo Yuan chooses to sell it, he does not know the specific selling price, but one thing is certain, the selling price of these 3 Moonstones is several times higher than the reward for Luo Yuan to capture Onix, which is enough for all his travel expenses, before attending the Quartz conference. Putting the Moonstone in the space backpack, and putting it together with a rock covered with moss, Luo Yuan felt that today was his lucky day. After walking around, he first found a rock covered with moss, and then accepted the reward for Onix, caught the Onix he was looking for, and finally picked up a Moonstone. Today's luck is off the charts, Luo Yuan said. Luo Yuan returned to Nibi City with the Pokeball containing Onix, and did not stay in Yujian Mountain for long. It was already close to evening, and Yujian Mountain was not safe at night. According to the news he learned from the Pokémon Mining Association, groups of Zubats often attacked humans recently, and Luo Yuan did not want to experience the taste of being attacked. So the right thing to do was to return to Nibi City and hand in the task. Hello, how can I help you? The receptionist asked formally, while sorting out documents with her head down. The task has been completed, Luo Yuan said in a flat tone, while standing in front of the reception desk. The receptionist did not look at Luo Yuan carefully. She was in a hurry to get off work, and took Luo Yuan's ID card. Okay, I'll register for you. Luo Yuan. Task. Clear the onyx entrenched in the mine. Onyx? The receptionist suddenly looked up at Luo Yuan. Her eyes widened, and her voice rose several tones. Mr. Luo Yuan, are you sure you want to submit this task, and not some other task? The receptionist looked at Luo Yuan in disbelief and said, it's the task of eliminating onyx. Of course it's this. I seem to have only accepted this task. Luo Yuan smiled slightly. What, is there a problem? At this time, the conversation between the two has attracted the attention of many miners and trainers who are going through the formalities in the hall of the mining association. After hearing Luo Yuan's answer, the hall suddenly rang with whispers that onyx was actually solved. A miner was shocked. There were so many of us at the beginning, and more than a dozen Pokémon were beaten to a pulp by onyx, and it was solved just like that? How is it possible? My friend is a trainer with 3 badges. Before he accepted this task, he was also seriously injured by onyx. This guy is obviously a rookie trainer. It's absolutely impossible. Some people didn't believe Luo Yuan and thought he was lying. Is it fake? But it shouldn't be. There is no point in lying about this matter, a trainer said. As he said, submitting a task only means that you have told the mining association that you have completed the task. The specific bounty will be issued only after the association sends someone to verify it, so there is no point in cheating on this. For a moment, everyone in the hall fell into deep thought. Could it be that this calm guy in front of him really killed the onyx? These people looked at Luo Yuan with suspicion, shock, and disbelief. Facing all these looks, Luo Yuan behaved quite calmly. He glanced at the receptionist who was shocked and had not yet recovered. He took out the Pokeball containing onyx from his waist and shook it. It's in there. Do you want to let it out and see? Hearing Luo Yuan's extremely confident words, all the trainers who knew the horror of onyx took a step back. If you release onyx in a place like this, are you going to tear this place down? Some trainers who had fought onyx head on even quickly hid by the door, ready to run away if they saw that the situation was not good. Ahem. Just when the atmosphere was silent, a cough suddenly came from the second floor above the hall. No need, young man, come with me, I will take charge of your mission. Looking up, I saw an old man with a beard and a cane standing on the second floor, and said with a smile, okay, President. The receptionist heard the old man's words and finally reacted at this time. She bowed deeply, and handed Luo Yuan's ID card back to Luo Yuan. Mr. Luo Yuan, please go to the reception room on the second floor. The president will personally receive you. The receptionist had an incredible look on her face. I don't know if she was surprised that Luo Yuan caught onyx, or that the president personally received Luo Yuan. Luo Yuan took back the ID card, glanced at the old man who had disappeared upstairs, nodded, and walked upstairs. His leisurely steps and calm demeanor made many trainers below who had previously suspected that Luo Yuan was lying doubt their own thoughts. In the reception room on the second floor of the mining association, Luo Yuan sat on a soft sofa with a cup of black tea in front of him. Opposite him was the old man who had invited him to the second floor before, and was called the president. Are you the president of the Nabi City Pokémon Mining Association? Luo Yuan drank a sip of tea, and asked the old man. Yes, I'm Yana, the president of the Nabi City Pokémon Mining Association. The old man smiled. Then, Mr. President, why did you invite me to the second floor? Luo Yuan didn't think he was the kind of protagonist who would meet nobles who admired him wherever he went. If he guessed correctly, the reason should be because he subdued onyx. Sure enough, the old man said, just now I received a report from the association members that onyx, who was entrenched in the mine cave south of Yujian Mountain, disappeared. It happened that you made a lot of noise when submitting the task down there, so I specially invited you to come up. Then what is Mr. President going to do? Luo Yuan couldn't figure out what the president of the mining association named Yana was going to do. Since the other party had already determined that he was the one who solved onyx, why did he invite him specifically? Could it be that he saw that he was very strong, so he wanted to get to know him? Luo Yuan guessed. Then Luo Yuan heard Yana say with a smile, "There are indeed some things. I invited you up here. First, I want to meet a trainer who can get rid of that troublesome Onyx. Second, Chapter 21 Conspiracy. Second, what?" Luo Yuan asked. President Yana smiled very friendly. "Second, I have something I want to ask you for help." Hearing Yana's words, Luo Yuan was slightly stunned. He felt a little abrupt. Asking him for help as soon as they met. Luo Yuan felt very strange. After all, we were not familiar with each other. You ask me for help right away, which would be very strange for anyone. Can I ask why you are looking for me? Hearing Luo Yuan's question, Yana seemed to think that his request was a little abrupt. However, he did not say anything, but continued, "You can defeat that Onyx. I think you must be very strong, so I need your help." Hearing Yana's explanation, Luo Yuan felt even more strange. He just caught a Onyx, and maybe he showed strong strength, but these are all uncertain factors. Putting himself in Yana's shoes, if Luo Yuan himself was Yana, he would not simply judge the strength of a trainer based on the record of catching a Onyx and then ask for help right away. The president of an association should not make such a low-level mistake. So he coughed and said, "Sorry, President Jaina, I may disappoint you. I will not stay in Nabi City for too long. I still have things to do. After challenging the Nabi gym, I will leave here, so please allow me to refuse." This matter was strange in every way. Moreover, Luo Yuan himself was afraid of trouble, and he was not short of money now, so he was too lazy to help others. Okay. Seeing Luo Yuan's firm look, Jaina had to give up. The reward for Onyx will be transferred to your account tomorrow. Because the account is bound to the ID card, Luo Yuan does not need to provide an additional account. Thank you, goodbye. Luo Yuan did not stay too long, and left the reception room quickly. After Luo Yuan left, Jaina, who was sitting in the reception room, narrowed his eyes, and looked at the door of the reception room in silence for a long time. Then he picked up the phone from the table. "Boss Sakaki, this is Jaina. The other party is very vigilant and the mission failed." There was silence on the other end of the phone for a while. Then came Sakaki's slightly low voice, "I know. Thank you for your hard work." The phone was hung up with a click. Yana sat on the sofa, drinking black tea, thinking about the young man named Luo Yuan just now, and sighed. He was discovered after only revealing a little flaw. He is really cautious. Luo Yuan walked on the street, not knowing that he had avoided a conspiracy of Team Rocket because of his caution. He was purchasing supplies for the trip at this time. First, Pokémon food. Luo Yuan picked and chose in the market. Because in this world, Pokémon are important partners of human work, life, and study, so the scale of the Pokémon food market is quite large. There are many brands and types. For example, the giant Silph company spanning Kanto and Chengdu has developed a delicious series of Pokémon food for Pokémon with different attributes, occupying a considerable share of the low-end and mid-range market. The Devon company in the Hone area chose to enter the high-end market. It developed a private series, which is specially customized for the taste of a single type of Pokémon and the absorption of different nutrients. Pokémon food occupies the high-end market, and of course the price is also high, and only a small number of rich people can afford it. This time, Luo Yuan bought the raw materials for Pokémon food. After all, his mind is full of Pokémon breeding methods, which of course includes the production of Pokémon food. It can be said that, if he does not become a Pokémon trainer in the future, and goes to work as a consultant for these companies engaged in the production of Pokémon food, he will definitely have a place in this world. After purchasing the materials, Luo Yuan returned to the Pokémon Center early. After getting his Pokémon back from Joai, Luo Yuan ran to the Nabi City training hall to rent a venue. "Come out, everyone." Luo Yuan released his Pokémon. The still energetic Metagross, the yawning Bulbasaur who just woke up, the cold-faced Eevee, and the ghastly who sneaked behind Bulbasaur to scare Bulbasaur. Luo Yuan clapped his hands, attracting the attention of all the Pokémon. "Everyone look here." Luo Yuan waved to the many Pokémon. After everyone looked over, "There are many things to do today, but first of all, let me introduce a new partner to everyone." Luo Yuan threw the Pokeball in his hand, and the huge Onix appeared in the training ground. Except for Metagross, the other Pokémon who were not prepared were shocked. Seeing their surprised expressions, Luo Yuan said, "Don't be afraid, Onix will be our companion from now on." Luo Yuan looked at Onix, "Isn't it?" Onix looked at Luo Yuan, then at Metagross, and decisively chose to follow his heart, nodding to indicate that Luo Yuan was right. Seeing the interaction between Luo Yuan and Onix, the Pokémon quickly let down their guard. Among them, Ghastly and Bulbasaur even ran to Onix and circled around it to look at it. There is a second thing. Luo Yuan took out the moss-covered stone from his bag and looked at Eevee. "Eevee, do you want to evolve?" If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 22 Eevee Evolution. Hearing Luo Yuan talking about evolution, Eevee stared with interest. As a strong Eevee, it would not be satisfied with this initial form that relies on cuteness. So after hearing Luo Yuan's question, Eevee nodded immediately. It had seen its kind before. Some of them evolved into fire elves, some evolved into water elves, some evolved into lightning elves, and some evolved into rare sun elves and moon elves. Eevee felt that, since he loved the sun so much and had such a high intimacy with his master, he would definitely evolve into a cute and strong sun elf. But before it could break free from its fantasy, its master grabbed its body and put it on a stone. With a confused expression on its face, a piece of candy was stuffed into its mouth. The candy was sweet and delicious. Then, without any warning, the light of evolution flashed on its body. In the game, Eevee will evolve into a leaf elf when it levels up next to a rock covered with moss. There is no strict level division in the real world, but the strength of Pokémon is also measured according to the comprehensive combat ability of the energy in the Pokémon's body. Luo Yuan fed Eevee a strange sweet food used to increase the energy in the body of Pokémon. The dazzling light immediately attracted the trainers who were training in the training ground next to them, and they all looked over here. As trainers, they had seen Pokémon evolve before, but evolution was like watching people pinch bubble wrap. Although they knew it was meaningless to watch, they couldn't help but want to watch. Wrapped in the light of evolution, Eevee's young body stretched out. The light of evolution dissipated. The long hair on its body turned into fine fluff. Its eyes were still brown, but its body turned light yellow, and its limbs were brown like the soil. The ears and tail turned into the color and shape of leaves. It looked strangely beautiful. What kind of Pokémon is that? I've never seen it before. But it looks so beautiful. Just now, it seems to have evolved from Eevee. Doesn't Eevee have only 5 evolutions? Could there be other evolutions? The trainers in the training ground next to them were all surprised when they saw this Pokémon they had never seen before. Obviously, they didn't know about the existence of Leaf Fairy. Luo Yuan didn't care about the onlookers. He would have to use Leaf Elf in battle in the future, and this kind of onlookers would appear frequently. Luo Yuan squatted in front of Leaf Elf, watching Leaf Elf, who was constantly moving his legs and feet, looking at a loss. He reached out and touched Leaf Elf's head. It felt very soft. He gently touched Leaf Elf's leaf-like ears with his hand, and felt very hard, not as fragile as it looked. Luo Yuan gave an order to Leaf Elf. "Leaf Elf, use the skills you know now." After hearing Luo Yuan's voice, Leaf Elf took 2 seconds to realize that Luo Yuan was calling him. He stood up. Leaf Elf's ears twitched slightly. 2 sharp and shining leaf knives shot out, accurately splitting the target on the opposite side of the field in half. Leaf knives. Luo Yuan was not surprised that Eevee knew this skill. As long as Eevee evolved into Leaf Elf, they would learn this skill. After a pause, Leaf Elf put its tail to its mouth and rolled it up, opened its mouth and blew gently. A soft flute sound came from the leaves on the tail, which made people drowsy. Grass flute. The grass flute has the power to make Pokémon sleepy. Then the Leaf Elf shook its ears again. Several leaves wrapped in mysterious light shot out from the Leaf Elf in all directions, then drew a beautiful trajectory in the air and hit a target all at once, and the target exploded. Magic Leaf. Although the magic leaf looks like a flying leaf knife, it has the function of automatic tracking. No matter where the enemy hides, it can automatically track the target. After releasing the magic leaf, the leaf elf raised its head again, condensed a huge hard-shelled seed on its head, and threw it forward. Bang! With a bang, the seed fell to the ground, and blew a large pit on the ground. Seed bomb. After performing these 4 skills, the leaf elf stopped moving. These are all the skills she has acquired after evolution. Together with the lightning flash, self-sacrifice collision, and sand moving skills she mastered before, the leaf elf now has 7 skills. Please teach me more in the future. Luo Yuan stretched out his hand to the leaf elf. The leaf elf narrowed his eyes at Luo Yuan, put his front paw on Luo Yuan's palm, and licked Luo Yuan's cheek affectionately. So sweet, I'm a little jealous. A trainer who had not left yet saw this scene with envy and jealousy on his face. Why doesn't he have such a cute Pokémon? Thinking of this, he looked down at the stinky mud that was hugging his feet and rubbing against them, and he had the urge to die. Chapter 23 Trouble at the Nabi Gym. Some people look glamorous on the surface, but in fact, they don't even have an Eevee. No matter where they are, Eevee is a very rare Pokémon. With its rare number, cute appearance, and multiple evolutionary forms, it is definitely the object of pursuit by countless trainers. Luo Yuan, who has Leaf Spirit, is destined to be envied by countless people. After evolving Eevee into Leaf Spirit, Luo Yuan put the moss-covered rock into his backpack. He did not continue to use the metal film to evolve Onix into Steelix. First, Onix had just been captured, and the intimacy between him and him was not high. Luo Yuan could not guarantee that Onix would not lose control if he evolved it into Steelix. Another reason is that Onix is not in a good condition now. In a previous battle with Luo Yuan, the rock that constitutes Onix's body suffered a lot of trauma and needs time to recover. If the metal film is used to evolve Onix into Steelix now, it is likely to leave permanent cracks on Onix's body. Luo Yuan applied a special wound medicine made for Onix and let Onix recover from the wound. He would consider it after it recovered and cultivated for a period of time. After arranging Onix, Luo Yuan asked Leafeon, Ghastly, and Bulbasaur to have a mixed battle. Bulbasaur and Ghastly were in one group, and Leafeon, which had stronger combat power after evolution, was in another group. The 2 groups practiced against each other. After arranging all this, Luo Yuan sat on a chair next to the training ground, supervising his Pokémon, while logging onto the Pokémon forum to browse the latest news. The Pokémon Forum is the official communication platform established by the Pokémon League in the Kanto region. On it, you can see some news facts about the Kanto region and other regions. Trainers can also contact and exchange Pokémon, props, intelligence and other things in the forum, which has many users. The new Quartz conference opens, and the ranking of the strengths and weaknesses of gyms in various places is counted. As soon as he logged in, Luo Yuan saw a very eye-catching title. Clicking on it, the owner of the post ranked all the gyms in the Kanto region in a list according to their strengths and weaknesses. It is not a rare thing. This kind of post that ranks gyms for new trainers to use as a reference is posted in the forum every year. But this post is different from the posts Luo Yuan has seen before. The difference lies mainly in a document. Detailed information on Xiao Gang, the trainer of Nibe City Gym. This document records in detail the information and background of Xiao Gang, the trainer of Nibe Gym, the tactics he is good at, the Pokémon he is used to using, the skills that Pokémon is good at, and other confidential information. Maybe some new trainers will question the authenticity of this post, but Luo Yuan, as someone who has watched the animation, naturally knows that everything in the post is true. Who wrote it? How dare they post it? Luo Yuan looked at the posts with all the good people and peace in their lives, and couldn't help complaining. Although the league has no explicit regulations to stop this behavior, keeping the information of gym trainers confidential is a tacit rule. The other parties posting to disclose the information of gym trainers obviously reduces the difficulty for trainers to challenge gyms. Perhaps there are many benefits for weak trainers. But for the trainers who are strong in themselves, this is very unfair, because the gap between their strengths is narrowed by this strategy. At the same time, it also increases the workload of gym trainers, destroying the original intention of the Alliance to select strong trainers. Luo Yuan thought that it would not be long before the Alliance would come forward to stop this behavior. Sure enough, Luo Yuan refreshed the page again and could not find any trace of the post. Although the post was gone, Luo Yuan was not too optimistic. Someone with a heart probably saved the content of the post at this time. It can be predicted that a large number of trainers will come to challenge the Nibe Gym, and his next challenge will not be so smooth. And the most important thing is, what is the purpose of the poster? There are so many gym trainers' information not posted, but the information of the Nibe Gym is specially selected and posted on the internet. This is very problematic at first glance. Luo Yuan smelled the smell of conspiracy. Normally, gym trainers who successfully challenge the gym as vested interests would not actively break this rule and harm their own interests. The analysis of failed challenges has no reference value. Therefore, Luo Yuan concluded that someone was targeting the Nabi Gym. It is conceivable that the trainers who saw this post would rush into the Nabi Gym after tomorrow. However, Luo Yuan couldn't understand why someone would target the Nabi Gym. Xiao Gang, the gym trainer of the Nabi Gym, was definitely not someone who liked to make trouble, and the Nabi Gym did not occupy any scarce resources. Luo Yuan fell into a deep sleep with this doubt. The next morning, because of what happened yesterday, Luo Yuan got up early on purpose and went to the Nabi Gym before dawn. When he arrived at the Nabi Gym, there was already a gym trainer waiting in front of him. Not long after he stood still, several trainers stood behind him. At the same time, more trainers kept coming. The surging scene was in sharp contrast to the deserted Nabi Gym yesterday. It's still morning. Luo Yuan looked at the team behind him and was a little surprised. Looking at the length of the team, it was already dozens of meters long. The team of dozens of trainers surrounded the gate of the Nabi Gym. Several trainers in the front looked at each other and saw the relief in each other's eyes. So many trainers gathered together naturally aroused the curiosity of passers-by. A passing trainer didn't understand what was going on and looked at the scene in front of him with a confused face. What's going on? Is there any event at the Nabi Gym? Then, after learning from the trainer next to him, he saw the information about Xiao Gang and joined the queue. Luo Yuan was very glad that he came early at this time. If he couldn't get a place today, looking at this situation, Luo Yuan estimated that he would have to wait at least half a month before he would have a chance to take his turn. While he was rejoicing, the first gym trainer had already walked out of the gym. Looking at his overjoyed look, it was obvious that the challenge was quite smooth. Under the questioning of the trainers behind him, the first challenger said proudly that he had defeated Xiao Gang at the Nabi Gym, based on the strategy last night using 2 water Pokémon. As soon as this news came out, the trainers behind him were excited. They were rubbing their hands, as if the Nabi badge was within reach. In this atmosphere, Luo Yuan walked into the Nabi Gym under the envious gazes of the crowd, and was led by the staff. Chapter 24, The Battle of Leaf Elves. Following the staff into the Nibe Gym, Luo Yuan looked around. Unlike the simple Nibe Gym and the anime, the facilities in the real Nibe Gym are very complete. Although because of the gym style, the Nibe Gym uses rock walls and floors, which looks a bit rough. But there is a hint of grandeur in the roughness. From the lobby all the way to the battlefield, Luo Yuan changed his previous impression of the Nibe Gym. In the training ground, Xiao Gang stood in the field. His squinting expression was quite serious, even a little ugly. Obviously, he also saw the post and knew the consequences of his information being leaked. How many people are there outside now? Xiao Gang didn't talk to Luo Yuan, and the first question he asked was to the staff who led Luo Yuan. Master, there are already hundreds of people. The staff looked bitter. Obviously, there are not many people coming to challenge the gym on weekdays, but today a lot of people came at once. Xiao Gang was a little desperate. He originally thought that if there were only a dozen trainers, he would grit his teeth and hold on, and he would be able to get through it. But now there are hundreds of trainers queuing up at the door to challenge. Moreover, Xiao Gang has reason to believe that 90% of the Pokémon in the hands of these challengers are water and grass Pokémon. With so many water Pokémon, even if he only uses one water gun, it is enough to flood his Nabi Gym. Luo Yuan stood by and looked at Xiao Gang with a dull face and felt sympathy for Xiao Gang in his heart. This kind of thing would be uncomfortable for anyone, and it can only be said that Xiao Gang is unlucky. Of course, as a challenger, Luo Yuan's butt is still very straight. Excuse me, when can I start the challenge? Luo Yuan asked. Awakened by Luo Yuan's words, Xiaogang broke free from despair. He took a deep breath and silently told himself that the sign board of Nabi Gym must not be smashed in his hands. Xiaogang raised his head and said to Luo Yuan, "You can start the challenge at any time. The battle rules of the Nibe City Gym are 2v2. The gym trainer and the challenger can each use 2 Pokémon. During the battle, the challenger can change Pokémon, but the gym trainer cannot. Do you have any objections?" In this battle, Xiaogang decided to go all out and show his style. What if he wins this game? Maybe he can intimidate the trainer who will challenge him later. Thinking of this, Xiaogang released his first Pokémon. Go, Rumble. Xiaogang threw the Pokéball, and a sturdy Rumble appeared on the field. As a qualified and responsible gym trainer, Xiaogang's Pokémon are of course not only the Geodude and Onix that appeared in the original book. This Rumble is one of the strongest Pokémon among his many Pokémon. He sent this Rumble to ensure that he won this game without any mistakes, and also because his Geodude lost his fighting ability in the previous battle. Bang, bang. Raiden hammered his chest with his 2 short arms and raised his 2 long arms above his head. Raiden, who has 4 arms like Grim, looks very intimidating. Send out your Pokémon, Brock said. Luo Yuan nodded and took out his Pokéball from his arms. Then, in front of Brock's surprised eyes, he released Leafling. It was spring, and the leaves on Leafling's ears and tail were like newly sprouted buds, full of vitality and energy in the emerald green. What kind of Pokémon is this? Brock saw this kind of Pokémon for the first time. Although it looked similar to Eevee's sun and moon, its pale yellow hair and green ears like leaves indicated that it was a grass-type Pokémon. As far as he knew, there seemed to be no grass type among Eevee's 5 evolutions. Luo Yuan had no intention of explaining to Xiaogang. He waved his hand at the leaf elf that appeared on the battlefield and gave an order. Leaf elf, use the leaf blade. 5 leaves shot out from the leaf elf's ears and tail and shot towards Rumblestone along different trajectories in the air. This was something Luo Yuan discovered accidentally. The leaf elf was born with a strong control over projectile attacks like the leaf blade. It was just a piece of cake to shoot 5 leaves at the enemy from different trajectories. If he put all his efforts into it, the leaf elf could even control 10 leaves. But in that case, it would not be very practical, so the leaf elf only used 5 leaves in the battle. Facing the leaf blade that was flying towards him, Rumblestone was stunned for a moment and was a little at a loss. The leaf blade flew from 5 different directions, basically blocking Rumblestone's retreat space and locking Rumblestone firmly. Of course, although Rumblestone was at a loss, Xiaogang remained calm. As a gym trainer of the Nabi Gym for so many years, Xiaogang's strength was still quite guaranteed. Rumble, use rock blockade to block leaf blade. The order was given, and Rumble, who had worked closely with Xiaogang for many years, immediately understood Xiaogang's intention. The rock blockade was activated, and 4 rocks fell from the sky, like 4 walls covering Rumble in the middle. Leaf blade is just leaf blade after all. Faced with this situation, leaf blade cannot change direction flexibly, and can only insert into the rock along the predetermined trajectory. All 5 leaf blades cut more than half into the rock. Seeing this situation, Xiaogang's pupils shrank. His face suddenly became serious. As the trainer of Rumble, Xiaogang knows his Pokémon's moves very well. The hardness of the rock in the rock seal is very high, and even Rumble's body is not much harder than the rock in the rock seal. According to this situation, if the leaf blade just hit Rumble's body instead of the rock, I'm afraid Rumble would lose its combat ability on the spot. TSK, what a pity. On the opposite side, Luo Yuan saw that leaf elf's leaf blade was blocked, which was a bit regretful. I wanted to take the Rumblestone by surprise and kill it with the leaf blade, but I didn't expect that Xiaogang's reaction was so fast that he was blocked. Now that Xiaogang is on guard, it's not so easy to take it by surprise. However, the leaf blade is not completely useless. At least it helped Luo Yuan gain the initiative. Leaf Elf, Grass Flute. While the Rumblestone was trapped by its own rock seal, Luo Yuan activated this relatively useless skill in the battle. The reason why it is a useless skill is not that its effect is not good, but because real combat is not a turn-based game. The opponent cannot quietly wait for you to use the move, so the slow activating skill of Grass Flute is quite useless in Luo Yuan's opinion. But in this situation, Grass Flute is very useful. The Rumble Stone is trapped and cannot interrupt the Leaf Elf, so the Leaf Elf can sing to its heart's content. Chapter 25, Onyx vs Onyx. The drowsy sound of the flute came from the mouth of the Leaf Elf. The melodious sound of the flute made people feel as if they were in the prairie. While it aroused people's reverie, it constantly weakened the opponent's vigilance. After hearing the sound of the flute, the originally sharp-eyed Rumblestone was already staggering, like a drunkard, and looked like he was about to fall down at any time. "Rumblestone, cheer up," Cyanogang shouted anxiously when he saw this situation in the distance. However, his shouting had little effect. The power of sleepiness is something that no one can resist. Cyanogang was a little at a loss when he found that his shouting had no effect. In fact, in this case, the best way to counterattack should be to rush up and interrupt the Grass Flute of the Leaf Elf. As long as the Grass Flute is interrupted, there will naturally be no situation of being hypnotized. However, the rock seal that Rumblestone used to defend against the flying leaf knife has now become his biggest obstacle. Firmly stuck in the center, unable to move, and even unable to dig a hole, the current Rumblestone is trapped in his own cocoon. In the end, the Rumblestone still couldn't resist the hypnosis of the Grass Flute and fell asleep to the melodious sound of the flute. "Well done, Leaf Elf," Luo Yuan praised. The training book mentioned that appropriate praise can help improve the intimacy with Pokémon and the happiness of Pokémon, and can also play a positive role in the daily training of Pokémon. Leaf Elf heard this and showed a proud and happy expression. "Then, let's take advantage of the victory." Luo Yuan looked at the Rumblestone sleeping in the middle of the rock and waved his hand and said, "Leaf Elf, Seed Bomb." "Magoo!" Leaf Elf shouted, and a green light flashed in front of him. A huge seed was condensed in front of Leaf Elf and then thrown accurately at the Rumblestone along a parabola. Boom! The seed exploded, and in the huge explosion, the rocks surrounding the Rumblestone were blown to pieces. Smoke and dust filled half of the competition venue. Cyanogang looked at the gradually dissipating smoke nervously. The smoke dissipated, and finally, the Rumblestone lying motionless in the venue appeared in everyone's eyes. Rumblestone lost its ability to fight. Challenger Luo Yuan won. The staff member who brought Luo Yuan in announced the result of the game. Cyanogang sighed. As expected, he lost. Although he had this premonition when Leaf Elf used the Grass Flute and Seed Bomb, Cyanogang still felt very complicated when he saw that Rumblestone lost its ability to fight. At this time, he also realized that the trainer in front of him, Luo Yuan, was not one of those guys who fished in troubled waters outside, but was really capable. Whether it was the method of Leaf Elf using the flying leaf blade at the beginning or the decisiveness of ordering the use of the Grass Flute immediately after Rumblestone was trapped, it was not something that ordinary trainers could do. Next is the second game. Although he knew that Luo Yuan's strength was not weak and had exceeded the average line of ordinary trainers, as a gym trainer of the Nibe Gym, Cyanogang had his own ethics. "My second Pokémon is this. Come on, Onyx." Cyanogang directly sent out his trump card Pokémon in the second battle, Onyx. Raw. Onyx's huge body made of rocks occupied 1/3 of the competition venue, and its body was coiled in a ball. With his head raised high, he stared at the Leaf Elf below, showing his domineering attitude. Onyx's eyes widened, staring at the Leaf Elf with a threatening look, as if he wanted to put pressure on the Leaf Elf. Seeing Cyanogang sending out Onyx behind the Leaf Elf, Luo Yuan had no intention of using the Leaf Elf to fight. Although he thought he was quite powerful, as the Leaf Elf was the Pokémon he had just obtained, Luo Yuan had not yet become arrogant and thought that he could use the Leaf Elf to kill the Onyx that Cyanogang had cultivated for several years. Even if there was an attribute restraint, Luo Yuan did not think there was any hope. "Come back, Leaf Elf." Luo Yuan took back the Leaf Elf directly. Then he threw out the Pokéball in Cyanogang's stunned expression. "Go, Onyx." Luo Yuan threw out the Pokéball containing Onyx. Luo Yuan also sent out Onyx. He had not fought with Onyx since he got it, so now was a good opportunity to get used to Onyx's cooperation with him. Roar. With a deafening roar, Onyx, which was several times larger than Cyanogang's, appeared in the field. It had a thicker body, a longer body, and a more ferocious aura. Luo Yuan's Onix suppressed Xiaogang's Onix in all aspects. Is this the Onix from Yujian Mountain? Although Xiaogang asked a question, he used a positive tone. He had been commissioned to capture this Onix in Yujian Mountain, but he failed. Although he did not succeed, he remembered the appearance of Onix. When he saw Luo Yuan's Onix, he recognized it at a glance. Xiaogang was secretly shocked at this time. When he wanted to capture this Onix, he tried his best but still failed. Now Luo Yuan has captured Onix. What does this mean? This means that Luo Yuan has another Pokémon that he doesn't know about. In other words, Luo Yuan's strength is far superior to his. Moreover, even if he didn't use the unknown Pokémon, just seeing this Onix made Xiaogang feel that he was going to lose the game. It's troublesome. Xiaogang felt like he was in a dilemma. If there was no precedent of a gym trainer in Ibe Gym surrendering to a challenger, Xiaogang would have surrendered directly. He didn't expect Luo Yuan to be so strong. If he had known that Luo Yuan had this Onix, he would have sent a weaker Pokémon to let Luo Yuan win. Now he has to sacrifice his strongest Onix. Xiaogang felt very uncomfortable when he thought of this. Come on. Luo Yuan said behind Onix. The two Onixes on the field took up more than 2/3 of the field, which seemed very crowded. Onix, let's go. Use the ram. Xiaogang knew that Luo Yuan was not an ordinary challenger, so he didn't care about being humble at this time, and chose to strike first. He wanted to fight. Xiaogang's Onix immediately arched its body after hearing this, and then suddenly shot forward. The seemingly huge and slow body suddenly burst out with powerful speed and strength. With a whistling sound, the huge body of Onix suddenly accelerated and crashed into Luo Yuan's Onix. As a senior Onix breeder, Xiaogang knew that the battle between Onixes was not so complicated. Both sides competed with each other in terms of physical strength and reaction speed. Luo Yuan was not afraid at all. His Onix was stronger than Xiaogang in both size and momentum. He had no reason to be afraid. Boom. With a huge vibration, the two Onixes collided with each other. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.